We're present.
We're going live.
We may even be correct at some point.
We're here. We made it. Right. Oh.
Good afternoon.
I've been I haven't been doing a lot of work today, and so since lunchtime I've kind of just been chilling, just sort of going, looking at a couple of things, just planning some job script, ordering some parts. So I've been a little bit sleepy. And then I did that eBay auction, and then you arrived, and then it's been like, oh, set up, go. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm awake, I'm here. We've got a show to do. Hello.
Hi.
All right. Caradog arrived.
Hello.
Caradog arrived
It's
moments ago.
I'm the problem, it's me.
Well, I wasn't exactly geared up and ready to go. However, so as such, just like, hi, how are you?
Indeed.
Good.
I am present. I am
Yes.
here.
All right. Right. I cocked up and I left the wireless mics at home. Normally they live in the shop, but I've been using them at home for other stuff. And so we're on a room mic today. So hopefully the audio is okay. Right. Okay. Let's see. Let me get a pop-out chat so I don't have to use the stupid, annoying default like some kind of common plebeian. And let's change that to live chat. There we go. All right. I'm scrolling to the bottom. Hello. How are we all doing? We look sleepy. I am sleepy. I am the sleepy boy today.
Oh dear.
So yes. But it's Easter weekend, so that's such is. I was going to buy an Easter egg to eat on stream, but I didn't.
Clearly.
It's a mini adventure. So yes. Do we need an egg timer? Odes are dead. I don't know, are they? What eBay auction did I partake in? I bought a new VR headset. I say a new one. Well, it's opened, never used, apparently. But I bought myself a HP Reverb G2. Hopefully it's a version 2, which is apparently significantly better. But it's very, very hard to tell. There's sort of no sure thing giveaway that you can tell whether it's a version 1 or a version 2. But I asked a couple of questions and I'm like pretty certain it's a version 2. So hopefully fairly happy about that. So I should get a drastic increase in visual quality from that. So
yeah, 2160 by 2160 per eye.
Yeah. So yeah, super high res displays.
Nice.
Kind of a hidden model. It seems like a lot of people just don't talk about it because it's not from the big players kind of thing. But also, yeah, apparently the controllers for the Reverb aren't very good. So I'm anticipating that I may need to I might need to buy different controllers down the line or come up with another option for that. But getting just a really good HMD is kind of my objective at the moment.
Yeah.
So yes.
Interesting. Just comments on just like devices that can run the reverb at half resolution and just stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, interesting that they've considered that. But they're talking about like 1060s.
Yes.
And RX 5500s.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of people who want to get into VR, but they don't have high-end computers. You can do VR on not a top-end computer,
yeah.
But you may need to my computer is a high-end computer, and the fans ramp up when I'm playing VR. So yeah. But then on the other hand, I run it with everything cranked. So
yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh.
Audio volume is too low. Okay. Firstly, I'm just going to move that so it just hits toward me a little bit more, and I'll just smash in. We got any gain on that? I'm just going to up the gain just a touch.
Oh, that's slightly a shame. It's only 90 hertz.
Oh my days! There we go. 4. There we go. Only 90 hertz. Yeah,
but
90 is fine in my opinion. And also, given the resolution of the display, I think it's trying to run stuff at like 120 on dual. What would you call those displays? Dual 2K or something?
Well, it's 2160, which is the same height as 4K.
Oh yeah, so right, it's essentially 4K then, isn't it? To all intent and purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
Full frame 4K.
It's
2160 by 2160 times 2. Ultimately, it's the equivalent of driving a 4K display, approximately.
Oh my, yeah. Whereas what they said it, yeah, they said 4,320.
Yeah.
Which is obviously that.
Yeah, so
too.
essentially you're
Yeah.
trying to drive a 4K display, so trying to do that at above 100 FPS is starting to get taxing. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of
3080, that's 3080 Ti, 3090,
yeah.
4080, 4090 territory.
Yeah. I mean, that much being said, like most VR games are not hugely graphically intensive. Certainly not a lot of stuff that I play.
Yeah.
So, a lot of stuff I play, you could probably quite easily drive that up high refresh. But yeah, no, I'm playing on a Rift S at the moment, which is 80 hertz. And I'm just like, this is fine. It's the screen door that I want to get rid of. Text is really hard to read on the Rift S.
The display on the Rift is horrid.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, the Rift S is a really cheap way into VR.
Yeah.
And I think it's very underrated considering what else is on the market right now. Because a secondhand Rift S is like £120 with the cables and controllers, and that's that's really cheap VR.
Yeah.
However, you can't read text on. Like when if I bring up the control panel and like the desktop display or something in there, I have to bring it up and then take a full step closer and go, okay, So it's not. You couldn't call it mixed reality by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Ordered the BT Fibre internet this week. I forgot, basically.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I forgot. That I have good intentions. I'm going to do it, but no, I forgot. So yeah, that's not happened yet.
There don't appear to be any cheap vibes on Amazon at the moment.
Nope. And yeah, like a lot of people I've spoken to when I said, I was kind of thinking of getting, like a Cosmos Elite or that, and a lot of people immediately were like, no, just don't. And it was not recommended at all by people I was speaking to on VR chat and stuff like that. So people who know headsets, they were like, no, don't get the Vive Cosmos, or the Cosmos Elite. It really the VR headset space really is a go big or go home, but also like when people say go big, they're like for go big they want like £800 to £1,000.
Yeah.
But what the industry is crying out for is mid-range headsets. But even all of the enthusiasts, we're seeing just more like $1,600 headsets being released, and we're like, no one wants these. Who is buying these? There must be a market for it, I assume, but it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's like the Pimax. Pimax 8K.
Yeah, that's right. They've just released their 8K one, I think, and it's just like, okay, it's 8K, that's amazing.
Yeah, 550 quid headset only, which I don't think is unreasonable.
That's not bad if you've... Yeah, presumably that's outside-in tracking, so you're going to need lighthouses and stuff like that.
You'll need lighthouses and stuff.
Yeah.
But
if you already have an existing setup, that's actually not horrendous. But if, like me, you don't have lighthouses, going up to headsets like these...
yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So it's just like... Because I've heard people talking about this one, and it's just, if you've already got the stuff, that's fine, but... If you don't have lighthouses and stuff, by the time you bought lighthouses at 100 quid a pop for the lighthouses, then you need like stands, all the setup for it and the cabling. You're not walking away without spending 4 figures on the rig kind of thing.
Yeah, they've just released their 12K QLED one. That was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, like, man, you're either playing Beat Saber at obnoxiously high quality, and it's just like, okay, that's great, but it's still Beat Saber, or what the hell can you actually drive at 12K? But I don't know. Again, I'm not. I'm interested to know who the target market is for these absolute top end headsets, because gamers don't have this kind of horsepower. So,
yeah, I can only presume that obviously it's also a case of just driving the technology forward for the sake of driving the resolution and refresh rate and so on forward.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Maybe like people making small amounts of them for research purposes, and research people will buy it because it's the best in the business, and that's raising the bar, and then soon bigger companies will follow.
Yeah, and also just kind of a case of obviously having 12K in a headset means you can use it in theory for a virtual desktop, and I would see something like that being more useful in a sort of a 2D or a slow 3D environment, so like 3D modeling and things like that, 3D art, and like drawing stuff in 3D, and like content creation in VR, where obviously you'll want as high resolution as you can possibly get because you need fine detail control.
Yeah.
So, that's where
fair.
I can kind of see it, and not so much on the gaming front and so on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because obviously, if you're at 12K now, in theory, that means text should be just as legible as on a monitor.
Yeah, because I think it's a neat idea having virtual desktops and stuff like that. But I've not been able to actually like try it in any meaningful way because my Rift S just can't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that when I get my Reverb and I have something that should theoretically be able to do it, like it's not something that I would use, but it'd be cool to test it out. And certainly, like, there's lots of people who in VR. I'm going to get back to chat in a minute. By the way, there's some good questions in chat. I'll be back in a moment. There's some good. Lots of people who swear by utilities in VR for virtual monitors and stuff for in-game screens and stuff. And I don't do a lot of that because it's difficult to have a setup that's vaguely readable and thus actually useful.
Yeah.
So I haven't done a lot of experimentation. But once I've got a display, once I've got a HMD that will actually make text much more legible, I'm really interested to see how that will change the way I play games with regards to having virtual screens attached to my wrists and stuff like that while in game. Because I've tried to do it, but you know, like when playing Beat Saber, I've tried having a Discord screen up on the bottom left, just so like between songs I can just have a look at Discord.
Yeah.
But you know, by the time you've got it close and or big enough to be legible, it's taking up like that much space in your field of view kind of thing, you know, and you're like, it's not useful.
Yeah.
I'd rather just push a button to bring it up an inch from my face.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's like, what did I have? Cosmos?
Yeah, you had a Cosmos
Pro or whatever the hell it was. I can't remember. Elite?
Or a Cosmos S. Was there an S? I don't know.
Remember.
It was one of the lower Cosmoses.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of the middle range one. I think it was whatever the top one was at the time it had come out of the Cosmos set.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had one of those, and using that for virtual desktop, I could see how it could be useful.
Yeah.
But there wasn't enough resolution there.
Yeah.
For what I would want it for.
Yeah. Especially because these days, big monitors, even if they're not like 4K, aren't super expensive. So if you actually wanted just lots of screen real estate, just buy more big monitors. You know, 27-inch monitors are not a luxury item. You know, it's not hard. And yeah.
Well, yeah, you can get 27-inch monitors for like £200.
That's it, yeah.
It's just kind of a case of, that. Or obviously if you want to go completely the other way and you're happy with it being, you know, not a great experience, but just about usable, you've got £200, £300 55-inch TVs. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. Underrated. Yeah, it is a viable option as you've demonstrated. So yeah.
And okay, maybe you might be restricted to only sort of split screening it half and half, or like maybe quarters. But
it's still a lot of screen real estate.
It's still there's still a lot of physical space.
Yeah.
Even if it's not necessarily a lot of sort of virtual space.
Yeah. Fair enough. Right, catching up on the chat. So having a whiz down. Firephone asks, are gamer laptops repairable? If it has a repairable fault, yes. Like, just because this week's one wasn't, I've fixed plenty of gaming laptops in the past. So yeah, it depends on the fault.
Would you say, if you were, you know, to stick your neck out on it, that they are less commonly repairable? They more commonly have silicon faults?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing to say. So, and I guess that's kind of what the question could be inferred as. Gaming laptops, when I see major power faults like main power rail faults and stuff like that, it is significantly more common to find a dead MOSFET into the CPU on a gaming laptop. The ordinary non-gaming laptops are technically just as susceptible to the same issue. But yeah, absolutely. Gaming laptops, you will more commonly find a dead MOSFET, which probably means you have a dead CPU. Not definitely, but probably. So yeah, definitely. Chunky Joe asked, why are OLED screens mostly glossy? Is matte a downgrade?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Because right, to give a fuller answer to that.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say you were very definite in your response. You're like, yes, because I was about to say, well, but you're... Go.
My first example is going to be the MacBook screen.
Yeah.
And how the glossy MacBook screen is so much better. But the reason why it's bad is because a lot of the matte coatings give a kind of a slight
frosting.
Yeah, I was going to say kind of like not Hessian bag, that's the wrong word I want, but kind of that screen door effect that you're saying in VR, they kind of give that effect, but on a much smaller, tighter pitch scale, and they give kind of lines and blurring and things like that, and they generally reduce the fidelity of the image in a vast number of cases, certainly on OLED anti-glare coverings. And to me, I don't like them as much, but it's because they raise black levels, they make blacks grey.
Yeah.
Which then completely destroys the point of an OLED, to me.
Sure.
Because the point of the OLED is, sure, it's not particularly bright, but the contrast seems to make it much brighter because the black is truly off black. There is no light.
Yeah.
So it counters that low peak brightness.
Yeah.
And if you start taking away from how low the brightness can go, the peak brightness issue becomes far worse.
Yeah. I think I tend to like matte displays just because fewer reflections. But then also, like, if you really care about your image quality, then it's not particularly difficult to control reflections. Like, if you're buying a TV, or I think on a laptop, I would rather have a matte display, because on a laptop that you're moving around, it can be difficult to control where the reflections are and where you're sitting and stuff like that. But then if you're buying a TV or a monitor and you're buying OLED, which is probably where OLEDs are mostly going to be at the moment, TVs and monitors, it's not difficult to set that up and then control the lighting in the room so you don't have horrifying reflections.
Yeah, it's also...
to that extent, you may as well get the most clarity you can possibly achieve.
The other point is, for me, is this is obviously a gloss screen with reflection, and I can see a very clear reflection of the light. But the very clear reflection of the light is this big on there. But on that screen that's got a matte coating, it's the entire bloody right-hand side of the screen for me.
Yeah, I guess. Even if you can't make out like the outline of the light, it's still increasing the brightness in that space.
And it's the entire half of the display. Whereas on this one, it's a tiny corner.
Yeah.
And like I've adjusted the angle on that to make it less bad. And it's just a case of, whilst there's nothing on that display, it's still a case of it's an entire half of a display.
Yeah.
Whereas a small section. So it's like, if that's really a problem, I can just kind of tweak the angle.
I think there was an interesting evolution in displays where glossy displays first came along. Sony were doing the whole X-Black thing, which was basically just their glossy displays.
Yeah.
Those were the really early glossy ones. And they had higher perceived contrast and blacks because you didn't have that washout that a matte screen would give. However, at the cost of reflections and stuff like that. But then I think not long after that, we started getting IPS displays, which sort of flipped.
Oh God, were the X-Blacks not IPS?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, wow.
Either that or they were very early. I don't recall. They weren't stellar at the very least. I don't remember them being stellar. But so then, IPS screens started coming along, and or just better LCDs, and people were going back onto matte because people were getting annoyed by the reflections. And by comparison, the early glossy ones looked bad by comparison. Like, for example, the early MacBook Pro unibody had a glossy screen option. You could have the glossy screen or the matte screen. The glossy screen was glass fronted and it looked really pretty like this one does, but it wasn't an IPS panel. So it was a good panel. It had reasonably good viewing angles, but it wasn't IPS. So it kind of looked garbage. And the matte one was IPS and looked drastically better by comparison. So that then started this perception that matte was better. But the reality is just at the time, most of the IPS panels were matte. And so people were seeing that and going, matte is better. It's like, no, it's not the matte that is making it better. It's just the fact that it's just a better panel. And now I think we've sort of now flipped back onto the idea that glossy and matte are a separate thing to it being IPS or TN or VN, and so on. So there's more to it than that, I guess.
Talk about properly shitty.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just trying to look at a review from the time of the NextBack monitor, see if it mentioned the panel type. And to be able to read the review, I have to allow the sharing of my personal data with content and social media partners to enhance my content experience. In other words, I have to provide them with sellable data to read the review.
Bye-bye.
It was like, what?
Yeah. Right, because of waffle, I'm gonna scroll to the bottom of the chat. There's one more question that I'm just going to quickly cover as well that popped up there just before we resume as well. So yeah, I think glossy. I think objectively speaking, glossy is probably better. However, I think a lot of people need to overcome including myself, need to overcome a bias. I prefer matte screens, but when you actually read into it, glossy is actually going to be superior because it's more controlled as such. One more quick question came up as well, which is interesting. A lot of people asked, how do I handle VR while wearing glasses? Most VR headsets, there is room in the headset for glasses to fit. So I actually wear glasses while wearing the headset. That might change when I get my Reverb. I'm going to try with both because I am nearsighted, so I can actually focus on things at point blank range. But with my Rift S, I found that my vision was more comfortable with the glasses on. However, also the Reverb has mechanically adjustable
pupillary distance.
Pupillary distance. So because I actually have real adjustment there, I'm going to try without glasses again.
Adjustment, isn't it? On
yeah,
the Rift?
That's right. And on quite a lot of headsets, But either way, yeah, I'm going to try without glasses again because without glasses you can achieve a higher field of view because you can put the headset closer to your face.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is another thing in and of itself.
Yeah. Just to quickly go back to talking about screens, saying here, something I had never considered is that LCD panels are transmissive and CRT is emissive. And I'd never considered that just as a consideration as to why CRTs feel so different to look at compared to obviously just TFTs and stuff.
Yeah.
Just the way that they are making the image is so different.
Yeah.
And each element of the image is emitting its own light.
Yes.
Like OLED.
Yeah.
Whereas on TFTs and so on, the element that makes the image isn't emitting light.
It's obscuring light.
It's obscuring light. It is emitting, it is, as it says, transmitted. It is allowing light to be transferred through it. But it itself is not making the light.
Yeah.
And just that difference does make a huge visual difference, I think.
Yeah. Which is kind of strange when you think about it, because ultimately the end result is the same. It's just how much light is coming towards your eyes. So on a reflective LCD, obviously this makes a massive difference because the illumination is dependent on light bouncing back out again.
Yeah.
However, on a traditional monitor where you're backlit, it's kind of strange because ultimately there's still a light source behind the pixel shining through the pixel.
Yeah. But
so
the difference is with that is obviously the room lighting and so on makes much more of a difference, whereas CRT it doesn't, because the thing itself is emitting light. It itself is bright, as opposed to the element. If you see the element that is controlling the light, the image looks worse. But on a CRT, where you see the element that is emitting the light, it doesn't look worse. So it means that it can be affected by environment lighting far more.
That makes sense, yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying there, yeah. Right, I'm going to scan through the chat again. So I'm going to start from the top. Let's see. Not all OLEDs are glossy. No, but a lot of them are. So, yeah.
all of the current, I think their 27-inch monitors are coming out as matte, and I'm just like, oh, that means I will never buy one.
Yeah, I'm still waiting anyway, just because they're really expensive.
Yeah,
they're
like
and
900-ish quid.
Yeah, they're coming down in price. It's just, but I think if you already have a nice monitor, it's worth waiting another year or so. And I think,
yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where if you've already got half decent screens, it's a case of you generally just wait for them to fail.
Yeah. So if you've got a potato, it depends on budget as well. So, new OLEDs are the best panels, even whipping CRTs. Yeah, I mean, it's getting difficult to do comparisons because obviously most CRTs now are all decades old.
Yeah.
So
but they're certainly getting very close.
Yeah, we're considering how technically inferior LCDs are to CRTs, because we've probably spoken about this before, but and as anyone who knows about CRTs knows, it is hilarious how bad LCDs are versus a CRT.
Yeah.
Just the difference is just there is no modern CRT technology, or in any kind of meaningful sense.
Yeah.
And obviously the other downsides of CRTs, like the bulk, the power consumption, and so on and so forth, make it difficult to justify them, despite the fact that they are so much brighter and more contrasty and so on.
And better
faster
response times.
Yeah.
And not sample and hold, therefore inherently avoid a huge amount of the perceived blur.
Yeah. But yes, it's good that we have OLED that is actually catching up. I'm glad that OLED is getting to a point where it's actually, looking really viable, and I'm very much looking forward to OLED monitors becoming the norm.
Yeah. Certainly now we're getting much closer to being able to functionally ignore the sample and hold type blur as we're hitting 240 Hz OLEDs and stuff like that. And it was just an interesting comparison because Dell have released a 480 Hz monitor.
Oh yeah, the Alienware, yeah.
Yeah, with a built-in overclock to 500. And with that, it was very interesting. I saw the LTT sort of overview of it.
Yeah.
And their sort of comment of just like, even with this, and even seeing all of this and so on, it's kind of a case of, to a degree, the OLED still felt nicer. The 240 Hz OLED kind of still felt nicer, just because the pixel response time was still 5 times faster.
Yeah. This is the thing. This is why I'm very critical of super high refresh rate monitors. Like I run my panels at 144. They're 165 capable, but I run them at 144.
Yeah.
Just because it just simply for the convenience that all of my games are automatically 144 capped when I have VSync on. So I'm not overdriving frame rates needlessly, kind of thing. But yeah, and it's the fact of I think that high refresh is worth going for. But again, on my monitors, which are very, very mid-range monitors, even then, like to actually make that not a blurry mess, I have to have black frame insertion turned on, which murders the brightness of the panels. So it's just like already, like obviously high-end screens that have really, really bright backlights, this is less of an issue. Yeah. Because, if you've got a mega bright backlight, by the time you've lost 50% of that, you still have a bloody bright backlight. But even then, I'm looking at this being like, this isn't the answer. OLED is clearly the superior technology,
Yeah.
And I think the only people for whom it actually matters are for top competitive esports players, where seeing that newer frame earlier actually matters, and there's such a minor percentile that it seems unnecessary for this technology to even exist. And I have zero interest in the kind of games where that kind of response time actually matters. Because at that, like for example, we're getting into the realms of like CS:GO and stuff like that, where people need millisecond response times. So I'm just like, this is just a reaction game. That's what this feels like. I know there's more to it than that. This is a sweeping generalization, but it's why I have zero interest in it as a sport even. Other esports games are a lot more interesting because there is a lot more technique and or strategy to it. But obviously for those, because it doesn't require millisecond response times, it doesn't seem to be down to a technology level. So yeah, the Alienware 500 hertz screen is just like, I mean, it's interesting. That's a really fast monitor, but I don't care. I just don't care. And yeah, I for most people who are buying monitors, I'm still just like, no, just look at like 165 hertz class monitors, because that's where you'll find really good value for money. And yeah, but as soon as you get past 120, you get, you're already like, what, like 144 is what, triple 160? Is that right? No, 165 would be triple-ish, almost. Hang on a sec, I'm talking out my ass here.
180.
Yeah, 180 would be triple. So yeah, 120 is still double the speed of 60 hertz. Yeah. And that is still a tremendous difference. You don't need to go that, once you get to that far, you already have a tremendous difference from 60 hertz.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say in an enormously clunky way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. It's also a case of just considering what the frame time difference is. And that's a better way of looking at it, I think, than the refresh rate specifically. Is just what the frame time improvement is. Because obviously going from 30 hertz to 60 hertz is halving.
Yeah.
But you're going from 33 milliseconds to 16.6.
Yeah.
Huge difference. That's a 16.6 millisecond difference.
Yeah.
Going from 60 to 120, you're halving that to, 8 point
something. Yeah.
8.4 something.
Yeah.
There's a bit of rounding up on that. Sort of thing. And that's still 8 milliseconds different.
Which is still quite a long time.
Halve that again.
Yeah.
It's now only a 4 millisecond difference.
And now we're getting into big diminishing returns.
Yeah, and it's a case of now I'm at 240 hertz.
Yeah.
And I've only saved 4 milliseconds.
Yeah. And we're having to double our frame rate every time to achieve these massive diminishing returns.
And it's a smaller and smaller time difference each time. So it's it's partially a case of, I feel like 240 hertz is probably going to be the limit that the 90 percentile will feel. Because once you get below that, you're at less than 4 milliseconds, and total system latency is going to be a bigger concern. Total system latency is going to be a far bigger variable.
Yeah.
So I feel like 240 hertz is probably going to be reasonably, the cap, certainly for a reasonably long time, until 360 hertz monitors are literally cheaper to make than 240 hertz monitors.
Because I think in the LTT video on the Alienware monitor, they pointed this out, that once you get, like, when you're starting to save like 4 milliseconds on your frame times and stuff like that, at this point you're falling behind the response time of your mouse clicks, kind of thing. Like, not human response time, but the point when the mouse clicks to the point where the screen respond to the computer responding to that, like the polling rate of the mouse and stuff like that. You're starting to fall behind the response time of the hardware response time of your peripherals.
Yeah.
So at that point, it doesn't actually matter if you're getting faster frames, because you can't physically do anything with that time anyway. So
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's interesting, but I do wish that total system latency and so on, and input latency was a bigger concern for general computer usage. Because that latency is what makes using anything feel garbage.
Yeah. Because it's not something that you notice until it's a problem, but no one knows it's no one will know that it will be a problem because no one really checks for it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's starting to become a big deal with, like, when people are reviewing mice and stuff like that, they're looking at response times and polling speeds and stuff like that. But for a lot of peripherals, no one is actually checking the response time, because most of the time it isn't really going to matter. But every now and then, if something actually has particularly bad latency on it, that's not something anyone checks for until it's sort of too late,
Yeah.
And like, this is one of the reasons why having any kind of post processing on images back. It's why when using TVs as monitors is rough, because if the TV doesn't have a good gaming mode, all of the post processing that gets done on the image can add, tens of milliseconds to the response time, or the latency of the image, which is mega bad. And yeah, just not people don't really have a huge understanding or conversation about that.
And I think it's also the other point is people don't realize is how much total latency there is in having VSync enabled. VSync absolutely murders your response time.
See, the problem is that
it's like it in certain games and so on is talking about over doubling it.
See,
and it's just like,
I'd be interested in doing some checking in on this, because the thing is like, I don't know what modern VSync is actually doing anymore, because like I know I know the concept that it is waiting for the next vertical frame before delivering the frame kind of thing. However, like then we had like adaptive VSync, and then we had like sort of smart VSync and stuff like that, where it's adapting to the refresh rate of your monitor. So like when I if I just switch on VSync now on a game, I'm not actually sure what is happening and whether that is actually having the same effect as traditional VSync.
I think the answer is you'd have to find out on a specific game by specific game basis.
Yeah.
Because the specific game can obviously set what it does.
Yeah.
I I would imagine that the best way of VSyncing would be to disable VSync in the game and to force VSync through your graphics driver.
Yeah.
Because obviously the graphics driver one, they've got whatever the NVIDIA version is called, but anti-lag sync.
That's going to be the nicest.
That's going to be the one that gives the least latency effect whilst still, in theory, avoiding any torn frames.
Yeah. I don't think that's what I have set up at the moment, but that's what I usually aim to. When people ask about it, that's what I tell them to do at any rate. But failing that, again, what is also nice, though, is just so many modern games now just have frame rate limiters on them, which is also a much nicer solution when you can just leave all of the VSync and stuff turned off and just say max FPS 120 or 144, or, you can just set what you want the maximum frame rate to be. Yeah. Which is a much nicer way of doing it. Because, again, I don't like uncapped frame rates, because it basically just means that your graphics card is just running at 100% to go as fast as it can. And when you have a 350 watt or more graphics card, you kind of don't want it burning 350 watts if it can be doing it at 100 watts. Because over the course of a gaming session, that's actually not an inconsiderable amount of power you're using, aside from the fact of the heat and noise.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that intrigued me slightly last night, because I launched Borderlands 2, and according to obviously the stats through Reaver, there was still 80% GPU utilization in Borderlands 2.
I see.
And I was just like, okay, what? I don't think that a modern graphics card should be at 80% utilization on Borderlands 2, given how janky it looks.
Well, I mean, if it's trying to render it at 900 FPS, though,
Well, yeah, but capped at 120.
Oh, I see, yeah, capped at 120. I mean, was this at 4K, though?
Yeah, but I'm just like, that seems like a lot when I can run, Doom 2016 at 4K, 400 FPS, and it's just like, oh yes, this is 70% utilization.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're running into some kind of inefficiency in the game engine at that scale, kind of thing.
Absolutely, but no, as we've discovered with that game, there are hilariously bad frame rate drops and stuff in it. Just as you start playing on machines that are so overpowered compared to what was available when it launched, it was like, and guess what? They're not fixed in Borderlands 3.
Good job.
They released an entire new game with a new version of their engine. It's, as far as I can tell, not actually new, because it's still got the same problems.
Hey.
I was just like, you have one job.
Paul Turner says, can your eyes even do 800 frames a second? Well, actually, the human eye is only capable of seeing at 30 frames a second. I don't have a follow-up to that joke. I'm just baiting. Anyway. Hi, White Bear. How you doing? Your eyes only see at 24 hertz. Angry boomer noises. Angry ye oldie filmmaker noises.
I haven't had that debate / argument yet with filmmaker friends.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's actually called out on it, but yeah, I don't know. I think I've never had the argument before. I have spoken to people who are just like who have said, "Oh, I don't mind 30 FPS. I don't have a problem with that at all."
Yeah.
And my usual response to that is, clearly you've not gamed at 60 FPS then.
Yeah.
Because if you're used to 60 FPS and you see 30, you will suddenly care.
Yeah.
You know, like even now if I drop out of high frame rate, if high refresh down to 60 FPS, because you know I play a lot of Dark Souls and Dark Souls is 60 FPS cap. You know, I do feel that, but 60 FPS is still fine. I'll easily tolerate 60 FPS, but dropping to 30 is just like, oh, this is clunky, man. You know,
I am somewhat glad that I have never played it like 30 FPS.
So so I've never had the argument of people going, you know, oh, you know, it's unnecessary or anything like that. But I have had people who've said that they don't mind 30 FPS, and I'm like, you are wrong. You clearly have not played many PC games, and you have been conditioned to tolerate badness.
It's also like in films. I think it's mostly in films where like you'll see that the director wanted to do a beautiful panning shot, and the panning shot is just smear.
Yeah,
it's just smear and
cinema is weird,
and I'm just like,
yeah,
I understand you wanted this lovely panning shot of this lovely tracking shot. The problem is I can't even see anything.
Yeah.
There is just mess.
Yeah, I see. This is one of the reasons why I need to go and watch The Hobbit or whichever Lord of the Rings stuff was done in 50 FPS.
Yeah, 48.
48 then, yeah. Because you know, because I haven't seen anything that is I haven't seen actual cinematic stuff like actual movies at high frame rate to see if it's weird or whether I'm like, oh no, that's nicer, you know. Because I understand the purposes of sticking to 24 FPS and how in certain instances it can make things more cinematic and, you know, avoiding the soap opera effect, etc., etc. You know,
but the soap opera effect is literally just, this looks more like real life.
Yeah, and sometimes that can make things look faker, you know. But I guess that means that you're bad at making a movie then, if you have to hide your fakery behind 24 FPS. You know,
I say this is not someone who is a cinematographer.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I think with cinema stuff, it's more difficult to it's a harder discussion to have.
Yeah.
But also because I've never watched anything because I haven't watched any 48 frames a second cinema, I feel like I can't weigh in on this because I haven't actually looked at it. So
I'm intrigued by sometimes how better than real life some 1560 FPS content can look. It can almost look better than real life.
Yeah, it really does depend on the content as well, because like when you get into animation, then this becomes really, really muddy as well.
Oh yeah, and then when you have like oh god, what's it called? 1:4 animation?
Yeah, so basically how many times a frame is repeated per frame rate and things like that, because in cheap...
Well, how many full frames you get?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you'll only get partial movement frames drawn.
Yeah, that's right. And then it also depends on just how many keyframes they're doing, how many, you know, whether they're using smear frames and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because like Disney is obviously infamous for nearly always animating on ones, which means you are getting 24 unique frames per second, which is why Disney animation always looks sublime, you know. But obviously smaller studios cannot possibly afford to do that.
Also, it's just a completely different look to the animation.
Yeah, because and like when you get into the realms of like stop motion animation and things like that, you can get away with a significantly lower frame rate. And then ironically with stop motion, the more you increase the frame rate, the more CGI it looks instead of stop motion. So if your objective is to look artistically stop motion, you actually want to lower your frame rate, and it gets weird, you know.
Well, you want to reduce your unique frame rate. You want to maintain a high frame rate, as in a high number of refreshes.
Yes.
But the information that is refreshed is not new, so you don't get flickering on anything.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's complicated, eh?
Indeed. Yes. Animation generally tends to be on 2s. But yeah, that makes sense. But again, there are exceptions to that.
Yeah, there was a game that came out recently where it went for a very animated look in sort of a comic booky style, I will describe it as.
Yeah.
And with that, it was, saying like the main character animations were done on 4s and stuff to match X show and, just kind of comments like that. But then when you actually get into the combat in the style, it's animated on 2s. To make it feel more fluid, and just kind of comments like that. And it was just very interesting, that attention to detail and the way that they've done a whole bunch of the technical stuff in that game to really play into the style of the animation, to do the very hyper flat look of the textures and things.
I don't analyze it very much when I'm playing games, but one of the things I find very interesting when playing a lot of indie games is how, like, a lot of indie games you'll see, due to budget limitations and stuff like that, there's only so many frames in an animation, like, when a character falls over kind of thing. Yeah. But when they do like screen shake and stuff like that, because that's done in game engine, the screen shake will be the game's refresh rate. So you might have, a guy swinging the sword might have a 4-frame animation, but like when a bomb explodes, you might have a 4-frame explosion, but the screen shake will be at 120 FPS kind of thing. And that can make for really interesting effects, and I don't know what is right or wrong about that, but it's interesting to see how it, like in games, you can have a really mixed bag there, which is kind of interesting to look into, I think. So yeah. Just as a side note, while we're chatting, one of the things that I was going to do on this stream is, this is a 1070 I have that is water blocked. I'm going to unwater block it, and I'm going to unwater cool it and then water cool it again. Hang on a minute. I've got a thing that I need to go and get.
What? Are these parts that you ordered like 7 months ago?
Yes.
Very good.
Ah.
Are these parts that are even compatible?
Yes.
Are you sure?
No.
Very well.
I'm going to unwater cool this card and then water cool it again.
What is that?
This is a 1070.
Okay, then yes, it is compatible.
Yes, I thought so. I don't have a custom loop set up anywhere, so I'm going to remove this water block, this custom loop water block, and I'm going to use this what is it, a G12 Kraken G12 with a Kraken water cooler to re-water cool it, because I don't have an air cooler for it, and then I can put this 1070 into service.
Oh God!
So I'm just going to sit and be doing this while we chat, basically.
You can tell this is the Kraken G12 is quite old. Because it's like, compatible with the Corsair H50, H55, H75, H90, H110, H105, and that's it. It's like
it's a pretty early design.
None of the I's, none of the Capel X's, none of the IG, RGB, Pro Plus.
Yeah, it's basically just compatible with that one Acertec mount that everyone used for like a decade.
Yeah. Also, just interesting that it says that it's compatible with everything basically from the GTX 570 all the way up to the Titan X.
Yeah, because hypothetically it doesn't touch the card anywhere. It just needs to bolt onto the 4 bolt points. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, it has got an inbuilt fan. Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So you get at least something with that.
Right. Let's see. Oh, that was a non-functional backplate. I mean, I guess it stiffens the card, but okay.
Absolutely. If you have a problem with, never mind.
Let's see. Cecilia says it's difficult to believe you never played games in 25 or 30 FPS because almost every game from the 90s was capped like that. Are you sure? Yeah. Like
also, like, I'm a lot younger than playing games from the 90s.
That's
to
true.
Be fair.
Yeah, true.
I started playing games from 2000 onwards, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And also, I don't count playing a 30 FPS game on a CRT because that's just a completely different experience.
Yeah, that's
like a completely different experience. And
yeah,
it's almost uncomparable.
Yeah, that's good because I was thinking because like PC games weren't frame rate limited. It was just how fast your hardware was. However, I don't know what kind of frame rates I was actually getting in games as a kid. I would just tweak the graphics until I had found what I thought was a bearable trade-off of frame rate versus graphical fidelity.
Yeah. It was only.
However, up until the early naughty, I don't know when I got my first LCD, but it probably wasn't until 99 or 2000 or something like that when I went LCD. So, like you say, low frame rate on a CRT would have been a very different experience. So, yeah, we're talking about PC gaming. I wasn't a console gamer.
I went to LCD in 2005.
Yeah, you were quite late to the LCD game then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only reason I swapped is because I became hypersensitive for a while to the refresh rate and to just the way that CRTs were refreshing. I could just see it flickering.
Yeah. Shimmer at least, yeah.
And just it was giving me eye strain.
Yeah.
And it was just a case I was just like, ugh. I can, and obviously by 2005 it had already started to become a little bit difficult to buy CRTs because they kind of dropped off the good but not expensive ones because more people had started buying LCD because it was just like, newfangled product.
Yeah.
And you either had rock bottom CRTs or the professional ones like the FW29.
There was no mid-range.
Yeah, and the mid-range was LCDs kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But it was only when I got my 980s. No, it was when I got my 780 Ti's that I stopped playing on minimum settings. Because I used to just play on minimum settings, basically. Yeah, right up until the point I got 780 Ti's.
That's fair. Yeah.
And then I was like, I have 780 Ti's.
Yeah.
Ultra.
Yeah. I have a friend who just always plays everything on minimum settings because they're just like, I don't ever want the frame to stutter. I just always want to make sure I'm getting the best performance I can because I don't care about graphical fidelity. And I'm like, you're wrong, but you know what? It's your computer. You can run it how you like.
Yeah, it depends on what I'm playing.
Yeah.
If I'm playing like Call of Duty, I will play on minimum everything except for texture resolution. So just absolutely everything on minimum, texture resolution to ultra, sort of thing. Just so textures don't turn to mud. But yeah. But everything else I'm basically, highs and ultras.
Yeah. I'm trying to pry and read chat at the same time. I think this might need a little bit of gentle screwdrivering. There we go.
Easy now. Easy.
There we go. Shame, really. I would have liked to run this water blocks, but I can't be bothered to spend the money on the rest of a custom loop just for this card.
Oh, sounds.
Look, if you want to be entertaining, you have to learn to make silly noises. That's what the people come for. Don't. That's what the people enjoy.
What?
Right, do I need any of these thermal pads? I'm not sure.
I would take them all off and stick them all on the block side and then if you do need them, you can put them on the card side. I also
Yeah.
just feel like you have way more thermal pads there than you need.
Probably. Oh, I didn't put this on.
No, I
Yeah.
know, but just also possibly
Yeah.
not even the right thickness.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh, it's recessed in the block. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm not sure how they're accounting for the massive height difference between these two components when the thermal pads are the same size.
Yes, definitely.
One of these is incredibly squished. One of these is making no contact at all.
I had a weird issue with a
Oh, the plastic's still on that one.
Oh, awesome. Good job whoever fitted this. I had a 1660 in the shop this week that was overheating, and I had to remount the cooler like 3 times before it would seat correctly.
Yeah.
And it was really weird, and like it was just a 4-bolt hold down,
Yeah.
but I just could get it to seat,
Yeah.
and I just could. I was like, "Am I going insane here?"
From my very limited experience, it's a case of that seems reasonably common. And just I've managed to absolutely luck out when water blocking that.
Yeah.
5700 XT, like the first one we ever did,
Yeah.
and just like actually got a pretty decent mount.
Yeah. Blair. Right. Take up all of these small boys. Let's see. Catching up on... Need a spudger. Yeah, that would work as well. Custom loops are expensive. Well, if you buy... we discovered that you can buy cheap Chinese water cooling and get not an awful experience these days. I say cheap Chinese water cooling, affordable Chinese water cooling.
Yeah, I can't remember how much it
Yeah, that's stuff that you bought most recently. We were really impressed by that. It was shockingly not awful, wasn't it? Like, even that water block where... You know, looking at the water block, you're like, "Oh, that's really nasty," but it worked.
Yeah,
absolutely. It wasn't as good as the EK block, but it worked.
But only by saying like 15 watts.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was astonishingly not terrible.
Yeah, but it's the thing that surprises me is how expensive pumps are. The pump reservoir combos.
Yeah, how much was that pump res combo?
Was like £90.
Yeah. That seems to be one of the most expensive parts of the build.
That part was just really expensive.
Yeah, so like 90 quid for that. How much is a rad? 30 quid? 40 quid?
Yeah, somewhere between 20 and 40 quid, depending on what you're buying.
Yeah, so
if you're talking about sort of normal stuff, obviously there are a couple of radiators out there that are like £300-500.
Yeah.
But the stuff that
buying affordable stuff. Either way, if I'd actually wanted, like one could argue, oh well, just buy a pump res combo and a radiator, and you could just custom loop just the graphics cards. Like
which would be 140 quid.
Yeah, that still would have cost me another 140 quid. Now, if I didn't already have an AIO to stick on it, then that would make more sense than doing this. But because this was like, I don't know, £20 or £30, and I already have a bunch of these lying around. This made more sense.
Yeah. It's kind of a case of just, you end up kind of accumulating old AIOs when you build computers.
Yeah, that's it. And that's why I'm ended up doing, because I'm trying to use up all these old AIOs and get rid of them and just cycle old junk out of the shop.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Without just putting it in the bin.
Yeah, because I don't really want to use them on builds because they're all questionable reliability, and I don't mind having stuff of questionable reliability in my stuff, but I can't put that in customer stuff. So, yeah. When algae is fermenting in your PC, it's time to change it out. This is true.
When anything is fermenting in your computer, yes.
Well-built custom loops don't go wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you maintain them.
In exactly the same way as AIOs don't go wrong.
Yeah.
On the percentage.
Yeah. They don't until they do. Yeah. Hello, Paul Daniels. How you doing? Have you
like
done your website? Also, welcome.
Welcome.
All right. Unbox. Let's do a live unboxing.
Welcome, Damon and Helen. Wie geht's?
Okay. Now and then you just randomly have enthusiasm for speaking German as best you can. Right. Usually late because
Never.
you fell asleep after hay fever tablet knocked you out. I see.
Hate fever. Ugh! Damn pollen!
Caradog always seems so optimistic. It depends. Don't know. You seem to be in good spirits this afternoon. You're very animated today, especially the subject of OLEDs being glossy came up, and you're like, "Let me tell you about glossy screens."
Let me tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah. I'm like, this is fine with me.
Fan.
Rifle bearing. Thanks. That's a 20-year-old technology.
That's what it says on the box.
Yeah, I know, but
Your
even
riffle
still.
bearing.
God, this thing is oh god, this is depressingly overpriced for what it is. Basically, I paid £30 for a bit of stamped metal, some fittings, and a crap 80mm. What is that? 80 or 90mm? That's
92,
90.
I think it said.
Yeah, that's got to be 90. Yeah. Probably. Yeah, it's not.
92mm.
Oh yeah. I paid 30 quid for a bit of stamped metal, some fittings, and a cheap plastic 92mm fan.
I misread that, and I thought it said it was a 1.8 amp fan.
Just on the LEDs.
No, it's not a fractal fan.
Yeah. I'm kind of sad about my fractal fans. The front ones on my Torrent are not doing well.
Oh.
Just the bearings on them are just not lasting. They're really noisy.
You should tell Fractal to replace them.
I'm tempted to, honestly. Because, I'm genuinely tempted to email Fractal and just say, look, I haven't had this thing long. The front fans, they work, but they're loud.
Yeah.
They're noisy. And, I feel like that's, I don't know. I don't know what I want to say about that, because it's just like they're not broken. I'm just disappointed with the long-term performance of them. Like the big 200mm fans, those are fine, completely fine, completely silent. But the front ones, at low speed, you hear them going, like it's not like they're just got noisy motors. It's motor noise, and. I can't remember if I've spoken on the podcast before, but my modern policy is not to run stop-start fans. Just run your fans at very low speed, because that prevents heat soak, and it also prevents you hearing the fans kick on. However, I run my fans on stop-start just so they will actually stop when the computer is idling. Because otherwise I'm sitting while I'm just browsing the internet and Discord, and I can just hear the fans. And I'm a stickler for noise, but even still, I'm just like, this is a top-end case. This is a flagship case. And I can hear my fans at 20%. That should not be a thing. That should not be a problem I'm having.
Yeah. I
should not be able to hear 140mm fans at 20% PWM. So, fantastic, says Sai. Thanks, Sai. I'm glad you came. So, yeah. NZXT overpriced? Surely not. No, but I don't know if anyone else makes anything quite like this, so I just bought this because it works.
Yeah, I was going to say, there seem to be very few people.
Yeah, I think it's just because there's not really much of a market, because no one wants to buy an AIO for their graphics card. Even though it's not an awful idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because I guess it depends, because most graphics cards, if it's a decent graphics card that is worth the trouble and or expense, it probably already has a big air cooler on it anyway. And most graphics cards with a big air cooler are completely tolerable, all things considered.
Yeah.
There's not many graphics cards that I encounter where I'm just like, this thing is annoyingly noisy, So, yeah, I think
it depends slightly, just because every now and then you'll just be like, any noise is unacceptable.
Yeah.
These fans are moving. Unacceptable.
Yeah, well, I like silence,
And it's a case of... sometimes that's a thing,
Mm.
and just having obviously all that water means that the random little spiky bits aren't really a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm never sure how clean I can be bothered to make a GPU in situations like this, because the only stuff that remains is now on all the tiny little capacitors around there. And while I've never ever broken one of those off, I live in fear of it.
It's fine. You now have a microscope.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. Those are really heckin' small. Like, those are like 01 whatever the small one is.
Yes, but now you have a microscope
Yeah.
with a big screen.
I'll just... It doesn't matter. I'll just leave that pace there. Well, I've got a microscope with a big screen, but the Andon Star... I've got an Andon Star AD409, which is just visible on the left of your screens there. It's this guy here. I've got that in for review, and the big screen on it is awesome. However, the big kicker, I was complaining on it on Discord, it can't do the screen and its HDMI output at the same time. I was heartbroken when I found out.
Really?
Yeah, I actually emailed Andon Star and I emailed the PR rep who I'd been talking to get the review sample and said, hey, look, I'm evaluating this at the moment. I can't get it to do HDMI and the screen at the same time. Is this a setting that I've got wrong or something? And they responded and said, yeah, sorry, that's how it is. The 10-inch screens can't do both. The 9-inch, the 7-inch models can do both. The 10-inch ones can't.
Oh.
So I can only assume that they just haven't put in a faster microprocessor on the 10-inch ones, and it uses all of its horsepower to drive the slightly higher res display.
Oh, it is a higher resolution at 10 inches.
Yeah, I don't know what resolution the 7-inch one is, but the 10-inch screen is a 1280 by 800 display, I think.
About right.
And yeah, the display on it is fantastic, and it is clearer. Like the HDMI output as well, it is clearer than my AD407. It is a better scope. But for my workflow, because I'm recording videos and I want to do a live output to my recording, not being able to do both at the same time is just like, that defies the point of having the big screen on it then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm having a real big dilemma over which one I'm going to keep. So yeah, because it can do, like, you can have the screen and record to SD card at the same time, and you can be recording to the SD card at 1080p 60 FPS as well. So if you don't need live output, if recording is fine, no problem. But if, like me, you want the option of being able to do it live, or also, like me, I want to plumb it into OBS, so all of my video streams are going into one place.
Yeah. So you don't want to import a video.
Yeah.
Especially also a case of importing that video from the microscope into your timeline. It might be differently time coded, and now you have to deal with different time codes. Now you have to deal with different frame rates. Because it might be 60, but it might be 60.0000000001.
Yeah.
And just stuff like that, where you'll suddenly find a frame doesn't line up and stuff. Because that's the issue you were having with using the camcorder.
Yeah.
Just because the frame rates were out by 0.03 of a frame.
Yeah, I had to fix the audio drift now and then, stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah.
And just stuff like that. But yes, I'm going to raid the sliders.
Do it, yeah. Do you want to grab me... I don't know what I feel like, actually. I'll have one of the I'll have one of the Aspals today. Do you want to grab me one of the Aspals, please? Aspal. Right. And Paul, did I get an... Well, Andon Star actually reached out to me and said, hey, we noticed that you're using one of our scopes. Do you want to look at our AD409? And I said, sure, I'll take a free microscope. So yeah, it was a free scope. So that's why I have that. And I've recorded the review. I finished recording the review of it today, and in the review, like, one of the first things I've pointed out is the pros and cons of a digital microscope versus an optical one. And like the bottom line is that the digital microscopes, they are cheaper for what they can achieve. But again, there's pros and cons between them, and I outlined that in the video that's coming out probably this week. However, I do agree. Like, if a company reached out to me and said, we want to send you a free sample of an optical microscope, of a trinocular optical microscope, I would rip their arm off. So yeah. So yes, definitely pros and cons. But trinocular microscope is going to cost you about the same amount as a digital microscope, but it's going to cost you about the same amount without the camera. Then the camera is going to cost, like, as you know full well, a decent camera for a microscope is going to cost you probably, 200, maybe 300, maybe even more if you go for something super exotic. And by the time you factor that in, suddenly if you want the video output, that digital microscope that can do the video output natively is suddenly looking like really good bang for buck. But also depends on how much of a problem not having depth of field is to you as well. I say, hitting myself in the face.
Yes. I think there's a comment on quite how old these Aspel are.
Yeah.
Please enter this competition before the 16th of August 2022.
Yeah, well, I must have bought them last year. Well, they went on super sale, so maybe they were clearing them out. Does cider have a sell-by date?
I mean, it will.
It's in a glass bottle, so.
I also just like the fact that apparently the Republic of Ireland uses different units for alcohol than the UK does. So this drink is fewer Republic of Ireland units. Does that infer that people from the Republic of Ireland are alcoholics?
No, they're European. Leave means leave, Caradog. I want my UK units, none of this European rubbish. Sorry, I segued onto a completely different joke there.
Are you okay? Are you deficient?
I'm deficient in humour because my joke didn't land.
Do not open by gripping the glass bit.
I've heard from some other people that the Andon Star, the recording function can corrupt SD cards if the scope doesn't like the card. I haven't had too many issues, but like obviously any kind of camera card, well, when you say corrupts the card, do you just mean like the card needed reformatting or it killed the SD card? I've not experienced that with my temporary use, but like in terms of if they left other footage on the card that got overwritten or something like that, it should go without saying that you shouldn't leave footage on an SD card. That's, Although now, I tell you what might be interesting though is when the Andon Stars are in recording mode, they record 15-minute segments and then they create a new file because they're FAT32 formatted, so they don't want to make big files. And I wonder if they work in the same way that a dashcam does, where it does a rolling recording and overwrites the oldest stuff, which could obviously cause interesting effects to happen if there's other files stored on the card. But yeah, I've not done any specific testing for that, so I don't know, make of that what you will.
The only reason I'm having an Aspel is because this was the last one in the box, and I was just like, then I can throw the box away.
Oh, was it the last one? Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I was just like, well, now we can throw a box away, and it looks slightly less...
Slightly less like I'm an alcoholic. I swear, when my family was around last week, I'm amazed they didn't say, you have boxes of cider here. I'm like, yes, I need it. It's a work thing. Please swallow before you laugh.
Do not worry, it's a thing that is supplied. I do not buy them myself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make people angry.
Oh, yeah, because of the head. Yeah. For a moment, I thought you'd pour that in there while there was still water in there. I'm like, did you just half dilute that? No. That would have made me angry. But
no, I pour it like that because I can't drink Aspel when it's fizzy. I have to wait for a lot of it to die off.
Now you mention it, actually, yeah, Aspel is quite fizzy, isn't it?
Yeah. And that tied with the taste of it makes me feel slightly off sometimes.
I'm surprised you went for it. Like, you mentioned that you don't like a lot of ciders. Don't feel obligated to finish stuff off. I'll finish it all off,
Mm.
Like, this is why
I like it from a glass.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
Like, I like it from a glass when I've done that because it tastes flat,
Yeah.
kind of by comparison, and it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, now it is nice cider.
Very well. All right. JD says he's many beers ahead. Fair enough. And also, by the way, Anya says Graham hating on the Europeans. Just to make sure everyone is absolutely clear, I've got no issue with Europe. You know, I'll leave that there.
My only issue with Europe is that Europe is over there, and I'm not over there.
Yeah. My only issue with Europe is the fact that I'm not in it.
Yes.
Anyway, liquid damaged MacBook next week. Lol. Right. How's this going to work? I need to figure out the orientation of this. I'm going to want to mount this. I'm going to probably put it hoses down, front mount. So I haven't decided. Like, I might. There's a severe danger that we're going to recase the YouTube rig next week
because you've broken the front USB ports.
Oh well, that as well. Actually, I haven't broken them; they've worn out because Corsair USB ports suck. But also that a Corsair 220T. Oh well, actually, you know what? Would it take? I haven't actually checked to see if it'll take two. No, there's no way I'm going to cram two AIOs into that. I kind of want to try because that would be really funny to have a Corsair 220T with two rads in it. That would be really, really funny. I will try that actually. Either way, it's going to get front mounted in whatever case it's in, and so am I going to want to have a twist on it like that? Or am I going to go for that and just hope that it bends in the right way? I think it's going to need a twist on it to take up the hose slack.
Oh yeah, you'll have to front mount it, won't you? Basically.
Yeah. I think that works the best. Yeah.
So yeah, if you
so took like that.
It's not a 360, is it? No.
It's 360.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not going to go on the top then, is it? So the top's only 2 fans.
Yeah, they've already got one at the top as well. So yeah. So that's going to go like that, and so that's going to go...
but you'll need a different AIO. You'll need 2 240s to fit in that case.
Oh, sorry.
Because
the one that is already in there is a 240.
Right.
Sorry, I thought you were asking what the front intake was.
No. What the size of the thing that is already in there is.
Yeah. Why are you being so problematic? Oh, that's proper. Am I doing that right? I must be. Yep, insert and clockwise. Yep, there's no other way that works.
What?
That's how that's supposed to work. Am I going insane here?
Are you sure?
No, I'm doing that right. It's just bloody... It's stiff, and you might need to give me a hand, Caradog. Can you give me a hand with my stiff fitment? Not even a smile? Okay.
You need to mount it the correct way round.
Does it only go in one way? I didn't know it had a... I thought you could mount them in any orientation. I'm going to quickly test that.
No, not rotational. The side of the plate.
I'll mount you the correct way round in a minute. How are we doing in chat? Ducani says 1440p 240 OLED. I think will do for an upgrade from your 60Hz IPS monitor. Much more expensive for full 4K. Yeah, I think that's a good place to be aiming for. I mean, with OLEDs, have we got 240Hz OLED monitors? Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I wouldn't consider that. I wouldn't consider that critical. I think.
I would.
Yeah.
If you're well, because otherwise you're buying a 120 Hz 42-inch LG TV. That's your other option.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, I'll rephrase that. I don't know what is out there. If what was out there was 1440p 120 hertz OLED, I would consider that to be completely fine.
Oh, I see.
And I would not pay extra for 240 hertz.
Yes.
However, if the monitors that are out there are 240 hertz,
Yes.
sure.
MSI OLED 27 inch. Can't remember what it's called. MSI. Oh, no. 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 Oh. That'll do. There is
Am I going to read the instructions for this or try and figure it out?
There is the MSI Meg 342C QD OLED A curve 20. Anyway, 21 by 9, 32 inch. 175 hertz refresh rate. A 491C, which is 49 inch. There's the Asus PG27AQDM, which is 27 inch 1440p, 240 hertz. And then there's the LG one that I can't remember what the name is.
I still don't know how I feel about 32-inch monitors, because part of me is just like, man, because also like I don't want to buy two of them. However, like for years I've always been very rigidly, I want two matching screens. So whatever I buy, I've got to buy two of them.
Yeah.
However, like especially because I used to have two matching screens and I used to sit in the center divide, but now my current setup is to sit in front of the main and have my secondary screen to one side. And so suddenly I'm like, you know what? I'm not required to run identical monitors anymore.
It feels better though.
Yeah, it's nice, but like especially if your second monitor only ever has Discord and YouTube on it, man, you don't need that to be a flagship monitor.
Yeah.
So like suddenly I'm like, oh, you know what? A 32-inch main and a 27-inch side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So suddenly you've only got to buy one fancy monitor.
Yeah. The OLED screens that are 1440p 240 Hz are the Acer Predator X27U, the Asus ROG PG27AQDM, and the LG 27GR95QE.
I see.
And they are the brand new 240 Hz ones.
Fair enough. You need an ultra wide. I've never used an ultra wide, so I still don't know how I feel about them. I don't want to see. I work in columns. I always have. I run 27-inch 1440p monitors, and on my left screen I run 3 columns, and on my main screen I run either one full screen or I run a 2/3 and 1/3. If I went to an ultra wide, I would have the equivalent of 2 4x3s, and then if I went to a super ultra wide, I'd have the equivalent of 2 16x9s. But now you're getting onto crazy monitors, and I don't know if I'd want to do that, because I know that the super ultra wides generally have a behave like 2 monitors mode, but I've always heard I've always heard that that's janky.
I've no idea, because
Yeah.
I've not seen any mention of a feature like that, so I couldn't comment.
Yeah.
But I know my comment is that I would always want to have 2 screens, irrespective of what they are. I need 2 physically separate displays.
Yeah. See, again, if you have a single super ultra wide that appears to Windows as 2 separate screens,
If it appears as 2 actually separate screens,
yeah,
then maybe.
yeah,
But also, why wouldn't I just have 2 monitors?
because then you don't have a dividing line.
But now I have to faff around with AMD Infinity or Nvidia G, whatever the hell it's
Therein
called.
lies the problem, and I don't know how slick that actually is in the real world.
And it's just kind of a case of, I could have one good central monitor and then a side monitor.
I think a lot of people would say, but now you have the option of playing something in super ultra wide. But then my response to that would be, yeah, but I'm never going to do that because I want a second screen.
Yeah.
I'm never going to play a game in ultra wide mode because I want a second
without
screen.
it.
That's why I have a second screen.
Yeah, unless I had an ultra wide and a second screen.
Yeah.
And then I might as well probably not have the ultra wide, so the second screen is more in my field of view.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Yes. I dropped this tube and broke the nozzle off.
Ah.
So now the only dispensement mode on it is yes.
The dispensement is.
Yes.
I see.
I like to say it has a built-in spreader. But
Oh my god. Oh my. Oh. I'm glad there's no bench cam this week.
okay. In my defense, other times when I've been using it in this condition has been less awful than that. That was pretty horrific. There's thermal paste on there, though. That's what matters. So, yes. However, for the record, I'm trying to use this up as fast as feasibly possible now because the tube is broken. So,
Interesting. Apparently there is a 15.6 inch.
Steve Higgins says 2 monitors mode works great. So yeah, there's no faffing. You just use 2 cables and switch between full screen and split screen. Oh, you can actually hook it up with 2 cables. Because that's great, because then Windows will think it's 2 monitors. And that...
I assumed they were doing some fancy DisplayPort daisy chaining inside the monitor.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, obviously the monitor still needs to have some firmware support for taking those 2 signals and putting one on each side. So you're reliant on that part of the firmware working as intended.
But that's also just how 4K monitors used to work.
True. But even still, if you're connecting up 2 cables, Windows, as far as Windows is concerned, you have 2 monitors, and that cuts out the software part of it, which is and the software part of it is where I would expect to have the most problems. So yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, I would love to try a super ultra wide. Yeah, as I say, I'd want it to be 216:9, the equivalent of what. What's the aspect ratio?
What 32:9?
32:9, yeah. I'd want it to be 32:9 because, like I say, because I work in columns, a ultra wide, which is what 21:9, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, an ultra wide would actually lose me screen real estate.
Yeah. It would need though to be obviously a 1440p or taller.
Yeah.
One.
That's it. This is the other thing, is because I'm running dual 1440p screens, I need a massive 32:9 screen to give me the equivalent resolution. I don't mind it being smaller dimensionally because that's just going to increase my pixel density, and that's fine with me.
What do you want? You want 120 by 1440.
Yeah.
Your options are all greater than 40 inches.
I mean, I'm currently running dual 27s, so that's what 53 equivalent, 54 equivalent. Yeah. So yeah, so as long as it's smaller than 54 inches, it's going to 54. I have effectively a 54-inch display.
Yeah. There's a 34-inch LG. If you go up in resolution, but it's 60 Hz only.
Yeah, 34 sounds a bit too small for that. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't mind going a little bit smaller, but I don't want to go drastically smaller. I like having, 27-inch monitors are great because I can sit back from them and read things from a distance, you know.
Going absolutely balls to the walls, MSI 491C QD OLED, that one, 49-inch, ultra-wide, 240 Hz.
Ah.
I've no idea what price it is.
Yeah, can you find a price on that, hypothetically? Because that's effectively the ultimate replacement for my dual monitors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then you've got Samsung's G9 that I think might be similar.
Yeah. Because bearing in mind that for a mid-range 27-inch high refresh monitor is going to run you 400-ish pounds.
Yeah.
So you're buying 2 of those, you're spending 800 quid. So I'm expecting to pay £800 for a monitor like this. £800 or more for a monitor like this.
I would presume £2,000.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the problem, is I can spend half of that on 2 monitors now.
Yeah. I would presume £2,000.
Yeah. And so, yeah, therein lies the issue there, is that the cost doesn't work out. Curve or no curve. I would probably, I would like a curve. Yeah, no curve. It would have to be curved. On separate monitors, I can take or leave the curve because when you're arm mounting them, you bank them inwards anyway. But obviously, if you're going for a single big ultra wide, it has to be curved. Otherwise, your corners are over there somewhere. You know. Get the Xeneon Flex. How much is the Corsair Xeneon Flex?
No idea.
Yeah.
But I'm...
The Xeneon Flex is OLED, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
that's considered a flagship monitor by modern
My
standards. I
comment
think.
is just going to be a case of Corsair, though, for accessories and so on.
Okay, I'm going to read the instructions and keep going with this.
Searching for MSI monitors. Here is a 3060 Ventus.
Yes, this connects to a monitor.
Here is a £4,000 gaming laptop. I think the answer is no one has one, therefore there is no price.
I see. Yeah, that's for the MSI, I assume. Yeah. Do you just want to quickly just like bash the Xeneon into Amazon or something, just to or wherever?
Oh my
I'm just
god!
curious.
I hate all of this.
Oh right, I should mount my fan on this.
Amazon. What is the Xeneon? Oops. Forwards.
I should have mounted the fan before the thing, but whatever.
Oh, apparently there's a. What are we
Like
looking
that.
at?
Okay.
2560 1440.
Right, let's see. For the Samsung SUW, you can split the screens 50/50, 66/33. Oh, that's neat that you can split it to thirds as well. So yeah, if you want to run a ultra wide, then you can do ultra wide within your super ultra wide, which is kind of neat. I like that as an idea. About $2,000 for the Xeneon Flex, apparently.
Yeah, 1900 off of Amazon.
Yeah, and it's just like, I'm not spending that much on a monitor, sorry, because I can buy two top end 27-inch monitors for that money, or less than, that will probably have less compromises or more versatility. Because the other thing to remember is that, like, this October when I go to LAN Raiders LAN party, I can't rock up with a Xeneon Flex at a LAN party. They're going to turn around and be like, no, go away. Go away. You know, most LAN parties have a single monitor policy for this exact reason, because you can't have someone rock up with a dual monitor setup and take up the equivalent of two stations on the tables. So at this point, owning two smaller monitors gives you objectively more utility. Now, I guess for some people who are like, I have never been to a LAN party and I never plan on going to one, this is a non-issue. However, for me, I do actually need some utility because I do sometimes go to LAN parties.
Yeah, it's why I'm more interested in whatever the hell the ones I listed as model numbers earlier.
Yeah.
The Asus PG27A QDM, the LG 27GR95QE, and the other one.
I see.
Where is it?
You could play in portrait mode.
The Predator X27U? Yeah, X27U, PG27AQDM.
These
LG
are numbers.
27GR95QE. Yes, those 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd prefer to have those ones just because they're 27-inch monitors.
Yeah.
If I was going to go to a LAN party.
Yeah. Even 27-inch starts getting tight at LAN parties.
But yeah, because they're 27-inch and not bloody 49-inch or 55-inch or whatever.
Yeah. You'd fly out to the UK for Adamant IT LAN party. There's no plan for one yet, but I have looked at, I think we've had the conversation where we've looked around the shop and been like, yeah, we could have 3 people there, 3 people there, 3 people there. The main obstruction to a LAN party at the moment is you wouldn't be able to sleep at the event.
You just have to book your own Airbnb.
Yeah, you would have to have your own accommodation.
And I don't think that's a problem telling people up front that.
No, people can make their choices. Yeah, like the LAN parties that I go to, they do have there is space to just rock up and throw down a sleeping bag or a pop-up bed. I've dropped a fan screw. Oh, there it is. So for me, that would be a problem because it's doubling the cost. It's doubling my cost to go to a LAN party. However,
So if you tell people up front, this
tell
is
people
the
up.
cost.
Yeah,
Tough luck.
it's up to them. So yeah, I don't think it would be a terribly good value LAN party if you see what I mean. But again, it's up to people if they want to spend that money, I guess, isn't it? So, but yeah, for the LAN party at the shop, you need a nice switch and cabling setup. That wouldn't be too difficult to achieve. You don't need that much. Like the LAN party series I go to, LAN Raiders, is pretty ghetto, and it works.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of things you got to watch out for. And yeah, a lot of it, like they tend to go overkill because the guys who run it have access to old enterprise gear, so they often rock up with old enterprise switches that they got for free, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't need that much.
No, absolutely.
It's not that much. It's not that difficult.
The only thing that I would want if I were doing that in any sort of proper capacity these days is switches that were like 16 port with one 2.5 gig port, going back to a 2.5 gig switch is the central point, and then star off of that, as opposed to just starring off of gigabit.
Yeah, that would work.
That would be the only upgrade I'd make over the old setups we used to do.
Yeah.
Just because 2.5 gig exists these days.
Yeah, and it's not that expensive either. Yeah. If my memory
well,
serves
I'd
me.
look and see whether 2.5, 5, or 10. You know, and if going up to full 10 is like another 30 quid, I'd just be like, well, I'll go for.
I think it'll be more than that.
But... No, but if that makes sense, you know, I'd obviously just take a look at the numbers, and if it's like, oh well, I can get 5 gig for another 30 quid per switch.
Yeah,
I'd probably do that. But beyond that, no, I can't really see anything you'd need to do.
Yeah. Also, Lingonberry said Doom 2 over IPX. I've never played Doom at a LAN party. Once upon a time, I did play Duke Nukem 3D over network, and the earliest LAN parties that I used to do with friends, where I would just go across the road to my mate's house and we'd set up our computers on his kitchen table or in his garage, we were running IPX there. Part of me is just like, the good old days, and part of me is just like, man, IPX was fucking awful. IPX is dreadful. Actually dreadful. But then on the other hand, we didn't understand what MAC addresses were either, so that kind of didn't help. But IPX was such a just, you plug it in and kind of just hope it works, you know. But also, like, TCP/IP existed, but we had no idea what IP addresses were and how to we were like, I don't know what to type in the IP address and subnet fields, you know. So yeah, IPX was okay in a single segment, but routing sucked. Fair enough. I think when I was in college, I think we had one lab that was on a token ring network.
Oh boy.
But I think they were decommissioning that when I was in the college, so we never learnt token ring. But that's not really surprising because token ring was obviously long since obsolete by the time I was in college anyway. So did you ever play Tokka and get sending liveries? Never played Tokka before. I know what you're inferring though. There were certain games where you would be loading and it would be stuck on a certain point of the loading screen, and you knew that if it got past that point, you were set and it was going to work. I know for a long time playing Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun over network, because Command and Conquer notoriously only supported IPX for a really long time, because Westwood Studios just suck at networking. And for that, you get the thing where on everyone's loading screen, their loading bar would be at 100%, everyone else's would be at 0%. And everyone would be like, well, I've loaded up. And everyone's like, yeah, well, I've loaded up too, but you haven't loaded up. Well, I have loaded, you haven't loaded up. I hate IPX. Anyway. When you went to college, they still tried to teach it. Really? Bloody hell. I'm amazed that anyone tried to do. You probably learn Token Ring Network if you go and do the A plus or whatever that nonsense course is.
It kind of makes sense, yeah.
But at the same time as learning learning what Firewire is and SCSI.
Oh, that's horrible.
What have you discovered?
Sorry, I was just looking to see what price the new LG C3s were.
These are the LG TVs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, oh yeah, the 55-inch C3 is £2,100.
How much did you pay for yours? Because you got a C3, haven't you?
No, I've got a CX, which is the 2020 version.
I see.
I don't know. I want to say like £1,100.
Yeah. Significantly less then, at least, yeah.
It's just like, but it does come with a 6-year guarantee, which is nice of Richer Sounds.
Sure. Yeah.
I will happily plug Richer Sounds. They are a physical shop presence where the people in there actually know about hi-fis, where they actually know about TVs.
I've always heard good things about them.
And
yeah.
When we went and got my parents' TVs 6 years ago or something, we went in there and just made absolutely no noises about buying the TVs. But the people in there spent 2.5 hours going through explaining what smart TVs were, what HD was, what Freeview was to my parents and stuff.
Yeah. Very good.
And they didn't make a sale. Then 2 weeks later, we walk in and we go, I want that one, I want that one. And they bought £6,000 worth of TVs.
Fair enough. Yep. Yep. That's the thing. It's worth spending the time doing free advice. It's why I do free advice over the counter in here, because it curries a lot of favour with the customer.
Yeah.
And like now and then, people are just going to take the free advice and then go and buy it on Amazon. You know, that's going to happen. But also, a lot of the time, that's going to cement in their minds that you are a useful person to come to. And that means that when you turn around and say, I can sort this out for you today if you leave it with me, there's a very good chance they're going to turn around and say, yeah, absolutely. Please take my details. So, yeah. Let's see. I spotted something in the chat there. Oh, yeah. JD said, are we putting small heatsinks on the VRAM? I don't have any small heatsinks, actually. And the kit doesn't come with any. So I'm going to set it up as per the kit and just see what temperatures I get.
Yeah.
You know, it has got a fan pointing directly over the VRMs. So I'm kind of... That might be enough, just that it has forced airflow directly onto the chip.
Especially as it's not really going to be doing anything.
Yeah, this is actually going to be sitting in the YouTube rig.
So at most it's going to be doing some video encoding.
Yeah.
Which isn't massively taxing.
Yeah, it's not going to be under gaming workloads. The reason why I'm putting this in the YouTube rig is just because at the moment I've got an old 1060 in there, and it's a really weird 1060 that has non-standard outputs on it. It's
it's the dual DVI one, isn't it?
It's a dual DVI 1060, and I'm just like, whereas, and I have dual DisplayPort monitors over there, so it's really annoying. So I want to put this in there because we've got dual DisplayPort. We've got triple DisplayPort, DVI and HDMI, which means I can have the dual DisplayPort monitors and this screen hooked up all the time without having to change the cables every week. So yeah,
you'll have to physically switch off the one of the monitors though, because one of the ports won't work, because only two of the ports can be active two of the display ports can be active at one time.
Oh really? Oh, okay.
Which
I can
might require a reboot.
Yeah.
To toggle which one it is. So it might be a case of you still have to plug it.
Okay.
Just because I know there's a
watch out, it's got thermal paste on it. Yeah.
There was a thing. For some reason, NVIDIA locked down the display outputs on the cards to obviously make you buy quadros and stuff. But yeah. Is this a Gigabyte card?
I don't know who makes this card, actually. I forget. They came to me in Gigabyte boxes, but I don't recall if they're actually Gigabyte cards. They're a bit of they're kind of mystery, these cards. You get loads of tips just for helping people on the counter. You don't like charging them, so you just chat and give advice. Yeah, a lot of people are quite happy to offer money for your time. And for a long time, I was just like, no, don't worry about it. But these days, if I've spent a long time with someone, they go, oh, how much do I owe you? I usually say, just call it a fiver or something. And they'll usually quite happily say, yeah, sure. More often than not, sometimes people will turn around and say, here's a tenner, or just now and then people turn around and pull out a 20. And I'm just like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, thank you very much.
Interesting.
My dad taught me to never turn down money. He said, just smile and thank them. And yeah, if someone is willing to give you the money, then take it.
Based purely on a forum post, it might be an HP reference OEM card or a Founders Edition.
I think it's more likely to be a Founders.
Yeah.
Because why would you water block OEM cards? Because as I say, these came to me as a pair originally. So it seems far more likely that someone bought a pair of them and then water blocked them. You're asking Postal. Oh yeah, because Postal has the Postal has the brother of this card. It's a HP, then bin it. No, it's a working graphics card.
What was I going to say? Yeah, obviously, once it's booted to an OS, you can interrogate the VBIOS.
Indeed, yes. All right, that's got that on it. I will tighten those because they can be tight.
That is unfortunate. Yes, that's a shame. I'm slightly I'm saddened that the C3 is so expensive.
Yeah.
Just because I was going to see if I could swindle my parents.
Oh, I see.
And get them to buy a C3 and then give them my CX. But the price is very incongruous. If it had been, £1,300 for it, the same as what I had paid, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they're not going to notice any difference at all.
Right. What screw holes am I using? The outer ones.
Yes,
the point
that is
where
unfortunate.
I smear all of the thermal paste everywhere except where it needs to be.
Smear it all over your hand.
Wow, it sticks out a lot more than I thought it would, but it's fine, I guess. You were joking. Oh, that's fair, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, even the 48 inch is £1,600.
Yeah, I am astonishingly just not in touch with TV technology. Just because I don't own a TV, I just don't care at all.
Yeah. I do kind of want to go down to a 48 inch. Just because then the pixel density between the TV and my side monitor will be closer. But it's also a case of kind of, do I want to lose that size now that I've got very much used to that size?
Maybe.
Yeah, 600 quid. Ugh.
Right, those springs do nothing, so I assume that this is just exactly the right height. Yeah, there's a bit of bend on that card, actually. I assume I'm supposed to screw those down to the stops. Alright. Bam. Haha.
Those panels have just gone up in price. Because everyone is £1,600. Oh well. I'm sure we'll see a half-decent Black Friday deal on it. Because that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
they get launched at CES at some astronomical price, and then by Black Friday, eventually they're actually at something that's a half reasonable price.
Right. Shall I get the GPU testing rig and just find out if this works? I guess we're kind of obligated to, aren't we?
I mean, it would certainly be a lot less effort.
Yeah. I suppose I probably want to find out now while there's still time. What's the timer on, by the way? 1 hour 50. Okay. Not planning on making this a hugely long one today because we're just kind of hanging out. But so yeah, if we get this tied up and it works nicely, we'll. I've got a lot of cider to drink actually.
Damn it, Graham.
Do people still actually watch live TV? I don't know. I think yeah, my family do. They tend to but then I think a lot of people now are kind of, you know, like everyone is setting up their skyboxes and stuff like that. Like, you know, they know what shows are running and they set up their skybox to acquire the show and then watch it when they're ready. So it's kind of weird. There is live broadcast, but I think most people are generally they're scheduling their skybox to acquire shows, but obviously it doesn't have to record it live anymore. It just downloads the show and then they watch that when they're ready. So it's a weird hybrid, I think. But I think a lot of people still watch live TV just because the thing about having TV on demand is you've got such a range of choice that it's a question of what do you want to watch. So a lot of people like watching live TV because they don't have to choose. So they can just watch whatever's on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is also a case of there is some stuff that is just only available on sort of the old-fashioned release schedule of just live TV.
Oh, Sai says it is a Founders board made by NVIDIA but sold by Gigabyte with a Gigabyte cooler. So, yeah, that explains why it came in Gigabyte boxes. Drinking on the job. Yeah. Very good. Right.
I'm going to put that in my bag.
Very well.
Save it getting lost. In all of the other MacBooks.
That's a good point. There's a lot of MacBooks kicking around here. I'm going to put this in front of you.
Okay. Very well.
I'm going to do a little bit of tidying up here first, actually. It's just put anything that I haven't used back in the box. Right, that. Put that back together there. Suppose we can actually rag this for a bit and see if it gets good temps as well. Because theoretically, it's a water-cooled graphics card, so it should get, you know, really good temps. And also, I suppose we can just have a quick look and just... I mean, I don't know if it'll have a thermal sensor for the VRMs. I hope it does, because it would be nice to see what the VRMs are doing if we give it a belt with Firmark and just see if the VRMs soar up to 100 degrees or not. I think for my use case it won't be a problem, but like if it can't run at full tilt, then I will probably keep an eye out for some nice little heat sinks. Or I guess I might be able to just like stick an M.2 heatsink on the VRMs or something like that. I've probably still got one of those kicking around. Let's see. Right, the stock plate, I'm going to bolt that back together. Right, that can go in there. That can... Right. I shall bolt this up. Oh, this has got annoying. It's got washers on everything. Okay, right. I shall read the chat while I'm doing all these screws up. What's up, John Maddock? How you doing? Fire Stick or an Android TV box? Yeah, I think something like that is probably what I would do if I did run a TV. Oh no, that's fine. In your opinion, the license fee is robbery because you don't watch the BBC at all? Yeah, it's kind of a complicated situation with the TV license at the moment because it's just like, as we all know, the TV license fee pays for infrastructure. It's more than just the BBC. However, also the BBC pay certain people an awful lot of money, which some people might think is not a good use of their taxpayer money. So I am in favour of, as someone who doesn't pay a TV license fee because I don't own a TV, I would be in favour of the TV license being restructured, potentially make it significantly less and make it so the TV is privatised and only pays for and only covers the infrastructure. If I've got to pay a tax for infrastructure, fine, so be it. Because remember, in the UK, we have a choice. In the US, you don't really get to choose what ISP you're with in a lot of places. Whereas in the UK, we've always got a choice. So that is worth paying taxes for. But yeah, I don't like paying the TV license fee because I don't think it offers me that value for money. If it was like, £10 or £20 a month, no, sorry, not £10 or £20 a month. If it was £10 or £20 a year, or it was £1 a month on my internet bill or something like that, we'll talk.
I feel like
It's
that
not as
is
stiff as it looked. Never mind.
I feel like that is a more appropriate way of doing it these days, as obviously we sort of move into that fashion where it's almost entirely IPTV, and having it so it is effectively a bill on the broadband side of things.
Yeah, like no one wants to at that would. If it moved from being a TV license to just an infrastructure license, that would mean that I would have to start paying it.
Well, not an infrastructure license, but just a fee for the infrastructure.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would increase my costs, but I still think that would be fairer, because if the TV license is paying for infrastructure, then I should be paying some of that because I'm using it.
Yeah.
However, I don't like paying for TV personalities who get paid vast sums of money, and many of these TV personalities, I'm like, I don't know this person, I don't find their humour very funny, and I don't watch them. So why am I paying their salary? I don't know. Maybe the BBC is obsolete. This is kind of a weird topic, though. It's there's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of caveats to it. I'm trying to figure out what screws I need to put in this, and it's taxing my brain. How about that? Okay.
It's, I think, a difficult debate because there's lots of bits of what the BBC does that is not the headline things that the costs are labelled as. And that just makes it a very difficult debate. And it's also a case of, I know there are lots of people who'd want to get rid of the BBC for other reasons. Also, I think that goes the other way around, doesn't it? Aren't they?
Yeah, that is the right way around. I've just forgotten what screws go where, and I might just put all of these screws into a bag because I can't be bothered to think about this right now.
Is this the cable that was from home, or is the cable that was from home still at home?
That is the cable that is from home. So yes, if you want to test that, interestingly, I can't. Okay, I was going to say I can't. I think I mentioned it to you, but yes, I am still having issues with the Brio at home.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think
fine. I just wanted to not use that cable.
That's fair. Yeah, I think the Brio that I use at home has just got a worn out connector on it, basically.
Yeah, is it that one? Oh no.
No. That one works just fine. Right. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Adverts suck. You suggest you watch a US channel and you'll see how annoying and regular the bloody adverts are. Yeah, but...
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah, I do agree with that. US adverts are particularly horrendous, I think. I think you can regulate that better as well. Like, didn't there need to be regulation where they said adverts are not allowed to be over a certain decibel rating because adverts were always just really loud, or something like that? But at any rate, I think there is a way of I think you can find a middle ground for that, because also like the UK just will not tolerate as many adverts as the US does. But most obviously, like, the BBC makes up for a very small number of channels on UK television. We're used to watching adverts. It's not that we don't have adverts on anything. So yeah.
It is a small number, but by viewership, they are the like first, second, third, fourth most viewed channel sort of thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
So by viewership, they certainly have a large dominance of the market.
Yeah.
Probably not first, second, third, fourth sort of thing, but you know, certainly in the top 10 there will be 2 of the BBC channels.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a case of there will be 3 of them. So it's kind of a case of obviously by viewership, they're doing reasonably well on that front and catering to that. Where is the usual HDMI cable for going out the back of the PC into the monitor?
It is draped off the back of the desk because I was using it for the other microscope. So
it's here.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. All right. Get my head back in the game. Do you need to pay the BBC license if you only have the internet? No, you've only got to pay a TV license if you are watching.
You only need to have it if you are watching live broadcast.
Yeah,
media.
You have to be watching live broadcast media.
That is from a UK broadcaster.
Yeah, however, it is comically easy to circumvent if you are watching TV over the internet per se. It's also arguably completely unenforceable because the inspector people are not allowed to enter your home, so you can just say no. I do not watch live broadcasts, and when they say, well, prove it then, you'd say, you can't, and no, you may not enter my home. But they're very good at writing nasty letters, which is also why people don't like them.
Yeah, it's also an important point to make, is the fact that they are not the BBC.
Yeah, the TV licensing people are not the BBC themselves, no.
And obviously, by extension, the BBC has no control of them.
Yeah.
Yes, that all sounds functional. I realise I forgot to plug in the animates.
Yep. Also, the GPU doesn't have power going into it, so it's not going to post.
Oh. I thought I had done that.
Okay.
Whoopsie.
Right, okay. I've nearly stopped being bamboozled by this graphics card, and then my brain will start ramping up to speed again. I want to stop talking about the TV license because I'm bored of this topic, and I'm just like, but I'm stuck halfway between wanting to segue onto a new subject and going, these screws are very confusing to my monkey brain.
Oh dear.
Right.
Remember when graphics cards only had one power connector?
Yeah.
And when that was Molex?
Yeah.
What a dark and horrid time that was.
Yeah. Alright. Right, because we're on room mic, you guys get fan noises now. So that's the thing. Right.
Have you tested this keyboard?
I think so, yes. Yeah, I've been using that during the week and it still works. I did not actually do proper testing on it, no.
Fair enough.
But yeah. Right, there we go. I've reassembled the water block. I did it, everyone. I wanted to symbolically bang that on the table, and then I realised I probably shouldn't. Right. I think, despite all of me saying, look, now I have dual DisplayPort and HDMI, I think the HDMI doesn't work on that graphics card. So,
Fuck's sake.
because remember when Si and Poster were visiting? Also, I think your DVI to HDMI adapter is here. I keep trying to give it back to you, and then you keep just not taking it.
That's not right.
Oh, there is. Your one is around somewhere.
But I do like.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, isn't it? Anyway,
Fine.
yeah, when Si and Poster were visiting, we tested this card because I thought it was dead, and then it got plugged in by DVI and magically seemed to work. So I think the HDMI output on it doesn't work. So yeah, ironically, the HDMI I'd have to use DVI. Right.
Also, you may wish to switch the capture.
Maybe. Right. Let's see. Let's do face cam with capture.
Also, having put these in. That is going into.
And HDMI is now going to be on
That is in. It will be on the
XR1. Oh, there is output on that XR1.
Good.
Why hasn't that monitor come on?
I don't know.
Yeah, just try turning the monitor off and on again, I think. Oh, hang on a sec. The light is on. It's coming up.
Yeah, because I hit.
Oh, okay.
Stroked across the menu.
Ignore me. Well, we have output, so something works.
There is no signal on the HDMI cable. Because the HDMI cable is not plugged in.
I see. Right, now we've got half a signal on the capture. Oh, there we go.
Maybe we'll get a picture on the monitor.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Good.
Okay, right. Let's get some more copyright fodder and run some benchmarks.
Is there anything on this?
I think it's a clean install. Superposition
Oh my
is
God,
there.
There's
That'll...
literally nothing here.
Yeah, superposition is there. Failing that, I'll get the we've got stuff on flash drives, haven't we? I have, if you haven't.
Oh no, it's not on here because I still haven't fucking stuff going.
What an absolute nerd.
Oh.
However, just run superposition on it. That looks cool.
Yeah, but you want to see what the VRM temps are, don't you?
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. All right.
We don't want to melt the thing. Also, we don't want the core exploding if you've melted it wrong.
I'd say that makes for great YouTube, but I don't think we can top last week's show at the moment. So, man, when that last week, when everything went sideways, it felt like that lasted a really long time. But I did actually go back and clip it out of the thing, and the entire event took like 5 seconds.
Minutes?
5 seconds,
What do
kind
you
of
mean?
thing. Like we were working on it, and then it went brrr, and like literally within seconds, you had unplugged it.
Oh,
because,
I see.
you
Oh,
know-
sorry. I thought you meant the entire cleaning up and getting back going.
Oh no, not just that, but yeah, and just us going whoa and everything was only like 5 or 10 seconds worth. But in the moment, you know, it looked like everything was for ages, you know.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I don't know.
Very well. GPU. There you go.
I guess we'll
hotspot is
capture the face cam.
31. Good.
Do we get VRMs? I'll be impressed if we get VRMs, but
We do not appear to have any other temperatures. No.
I guess we could just thrash the card and then just, you know, do a back of the hand test kind of thing.
I mean, you do have a literal thermal camera.
I guess.
And you have K-type thermocouples.
I suppose.
You have the equipment, damn it.
Maybe. Is Graham doing Monkey Island animations? I've not played Monkey Island, so if you say I am, then probably. So yeah. Let's see. What happened last week? We were working on the freezer, and it hydro-locked, for lack of more complex terms, and it made an earthquake on the bench. So yes. Thankfully, though, it started making unhealthy noises moments before it happened, so we kind of knew that something was wrong. All right, let's let that get going. I'll get the We have the equipment, we lack the captain. Yes! That sums up this channel in a nutshell. Also, how well can you hear me if I stand over here? I'll come back and check the result now.
Nah.
Not that we're going to do this long term anyway, because like one of the main reasons why we don't run the condenser mic for the show is because it means we can't walk off shot, and also it means that there's more external noises, and also there's another thing we have to have in the way. But yeah,
Things!
stuff and things. I can't read the numbers on the screen from here.
24, 25C.
Damn. I mean, the fans are running at full tilt and it's all cold, but still.
The hotspot is 35. Oop.
Oh, did that... I think that just
Apparently
exited.
that just exited.
Very well.
Oh.
Bam.
Oh, extra.
Look up Stan the Car Salesman on Monkey Island. Very well. Quiet but audible. Okay, fair enough.
Unai-chan. Plug the phone in.
Okay, yeah, well... Yeah, the VRM is the hottest area on the card at the moment, but it's only at 30 degrees, so it's not a problem yet.
31. Yeah.
So yeah, if it stays at that point, then we're laughing. We're going to need to give it time to heat soak, though.
Yeah. Also, just a case of, obviously, if the core and so on are kept cool, the board will take a lot of heat away from everything.
That's what I'm thinking.
Anyway.
I think that's what we're relying on here, is also just having the fan blasting at the board means that we're just, you know, if the board is cool, then everything else is. Whereas normally, because you've got the heatsink on top of everything, you can't get direct cooling to the circuit board, so the circuit board is going to heat soak.
And yes, this is running at like 19 to 20 FPS. Looks it is on 1080p Extreme.
That's right. As long as it's giving, it's giving maximum utilization, which is what we need.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Just because it avoids there being any risk of CPU issues.
I'd have done 1080p high. 1080p medium is surprisingly tame on superposition, I've found. I thought superposition, like, for lower end cards, I tended to drop to heaven. But superposition 1080p medium is actually not that stressful. You can, most potatoes can manage 30 FPS. So, lots of tearing, yeah, it's because we've got very variable frame rates here.
Also a case of obviously there being no syncing because syncing isn't a benchmark.
Yes. Need 4 clip mics for reasons. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I've got to look at Insta360 stuff. I wonder if Insta360 do microphones.
Don't know.
I should definitely have a look if they do. Because if they
that'd
do,
be interesting.
yeah. Insta360 reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to look up more of our stuff?" And I'm like, on the one hand, hell yes, but on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know if you've got anything else that's actually useful to me.
Did you use the Insta360 in the most recent video? Was it the bench cam in the most recent video?
Yes. Yeah, that was the... Yeah, yes.
The one with the dead CPU?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Because if it was, I could not tell a difference.
Yeah, fair enough. YouTube murders quality, man.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. Also, though, I was doing a lot of digital zoom when I was recording that. So, yes, it was that. And I was doing a lot of digital zoom just to see how that worked in the workflow. And it wasn't particularly helpful. If I had not been doing that, it would have been better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We are up to the heady heights of 27 degrees.
Damn. All right, let's see how these VRMs are doing.
I'm expecting 40s.
Yeah, mid-40s.
Yeah.
That's through the PCB.
Yeah.
But, so, you know, the VRM core, so to speak, is going to be higher than that. But, like, even if we assume a 20-degree delta between the PCB
That's still only 60
and the thing.
something.
Yeah, that's still only 60
And
something.
you've still got 40 more degrees to go before you go,
Yeah.
this is too hot.
Yeah. Like, we basically don't care until we reach the 90s, and then we're going to start caring. But yeah, that's still I can still touch that with my hand. Hell, I could probably put my hand on the back of the GPU, which is
it should be 30s.
Yeah, and like normally touching the back of the GPU is a no-no.
33.5 was the 36.1 was the highest hotspot.
I think that's probably going to be fine. I mean, I guess we
That's
could.
wild.
Yeah, I guess we could Furmark it because Furmark is going to rag the VRMs.
Oh, because the GPU. This is only a 100-watt GPU.
10,
What?
It's 1070, man.
What? I thought they were 150. No, that's fine. I thought 1070s were 150.
Yeah, but like, remember when GPUs didn't use as much power as a space heater?
It was just I thought it was 150. I thought it was 150. And then, if it's 100 watt, why did they bother? They could have taken 30 watts off of that and made it bus powered.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I suppose it's...
If that makes sense, why does the 1060 require a power connector? That's my point. Why does the 1060 require a power connector? Because it's like, you take 30 watts off of a 1070...
Yeah.
And it's bus powered.
I mean, it's surprising that the 1070 has an 8-pin power connector.
Yeah.
It could have done it on a 6-pin.
What? I mean, I understand the aftermarket cards. You know, your Strixes
also,
and your EVGAs.
Yeah, also this is a reference card, so yeah.
You know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could... I mean...
My comment is more just, again, the 1060.
Based on Postal's experience with this card's brother, though, this card has a hilarious amount of overclocking headroom in it. Apparently, you can do ridiculous stuff with overclocking on this card, which isn't something that I care to investigate because I just want it for the video encoding.
Yeah.
But hypothetically, power connectors were a selling point. Yeah, it shows power. Yeah, I think you're probably right there. That, you know, if it only had a 6-pin on it, people would be like, well, it's only got a 6-pin, so it can't be that good, you know.
Yeah. It's also, I guess, the point as well, just to me, the fact that the 1050 Ti had a 6-pin.
Yeah. Mike's Unboxing said apparently the GTX was a 150 TDP card. I don't know if this has got a wonky BIOS on it or something.
Where is 1080p? There you go. Oh, they've got bloody presets, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah, just do anti-aliasing like 4x. Yeah, that should do it. I don't know why I'm looking over there when I've got a preview over here. Yeah. Hopefully, yeah, see what the power draw is now. Because Furmark should be actually savaging the VRMs.
Yeah. Where's the actual watts number there? There. Oh, okay. Yeah, 150 was the peak.
Oh yeah, that's more like it. Yeah.
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 There you go. Cool. Hotspot is in the 40s now.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So now we're running Furmark. We should be hammering the VRM significantly more. For those of you who don't know, the reason why Furmark is not used as a benchmark is that it doesn't actually utilize the GPU that much. But what it does, it's a power virus. It causes the GPU to draw as much power as possible. I don't know the exact mechanics of how that works, but the point is,
but it is a power side test, not a silicon side test.
Exactly. So it's not good for testing how fast a graphics card is, but it will cause the graphics card to draw as much power as it is capable of doing so. And right now, my biggest concern with this, I'm sure the core is going to be fine because it's underwater, but the VRM
seems to have a functional now.
Yeah, the VRMs are basically running just no cooling, but with a fan blowing on them. So we want to make sure that those aren't going to burn up. So now we've actually got the VRMs doing a solid 150 watts. We'll see what that does. As many shaders as possible. Fair enough. Furmark also got gimped in some drivers. Yeah,
it did. It got gimped in. Basically, any modern driver will reduce the clocks heavily as soon as it sees Furmark launch.
Ah, I see, yeah.
I'd expect
Okay.
this to be, 50s or 60s.
Yeah, we've got 50 on the back of the PCB now.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can peek. Ooh.
You'd want to flip it over, just because the camera's at the top at the moment. So if you flip the phone...
Yeah, I can just peek under there.
Oh,
And
really? Oh, cool.
the hotspots that I can see are mid-50s. So, yeah, like surface hotspots that I can see are mid-50s. So again, even if we pretend that we've got a 20-degree delta between what I can see and hotspots, we're still in the 70s, which is more than adequate.
Yeah.
Heat soak is a thing, so we'll give it 5 minutes. But apparently, yeah, just having a fan blasting at your VRMs is good enough for 150 watts.
Yeah.
Which seems reasonable because, otherwise they'd be hilariously inefficient.
Well, yeah.
This is not a quiet setup. Actually, wait, yeah, how have you got... Have you just got this fan plugged into the thing?
I've just got it plugged into it, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's... Oh, yeah, wow, that VRM fan is... Yeah, I assumed that VRM fan would be doing a lot of the noise. But no, it's all...
No, it's these Enermax 3000 RPM fans.
Yeah. Happily, these particular ones that you chose are not Rex as well, so,
Yeah.
Have we still... Oh, God, yeah.
I'm actually going to do that whilst we're visiting.
I was about to say, have I still got a stack of those sodding Enermax fans over there? And it's like, of course I have. Of course I haven't actually tested them yet. A while back, we had a couple of the Enermax AIOs in, and I've still got them all stacked up over there. Because I haven't tested the fans for wrecked bearings, because some of them had wrecked bearings.
Yeah, that was absolutely fine.
Yeah, 2300 RPM. 2300 is pretty fierce for a 120mm fan.
Yeah, I think these are all cable tied. Oh, no. This one isn't.
Does Fairmont give you a score? Yeah, kind of. You've got the FPS that it's giving you, and it does have fixed benchmarks that you can run.
Absolutely fine.
However, as we said, Fairmark is not a meaningful benchmark by modern standards. So, yeah, I would not... the frame rate and or clock speeds that you get in Fairmark are fundamentally meaningless by modern standards. The only practical purpose is when you want to stress test the power delivery system. So, yeah, the temps are great. Like, I'm loving the temps. Although, like, obviously, water cooling a 150-watt graphics card, forget about it, The only reason why I'm bothering with this is because finding an air cooler for this is surprisingly expensive. It was cheaper for me to spend 30 quid on this Kraken mounting kit and use an AIO that I had kicking around than it was to buy an aftermarket air cooler. Which is depressing, but whatever. There's just no market for aftermarket air coolers these days. It looks like when we were having trouble with those fans, I just happened to pick up the only 2 broken ones.
3 or 4, I think. Just, yeah, all of the ones picked up with the broken ones. Yeah. So far, so good. Yeah.
I mean, that's good. It's nice to have these big high-flow fans on hand, because it means that when we want to do stuff where we're like, we don't care about noise, we want cooling, we've got some hilariously high airflow fans.
Ah, there we go. There's one that feels a little dodgy.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not making noise. It just feels dodgy.
No, but it feels like a bag of nails.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I was doing that.
Agreed.
Because it instantly shows up that this one is unhappy.
Yeah.
There you go.
May as well chuck that one in the bin.
Yeah, there we go. It started making noise.
Ah, okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 potentially good ones we've got. 6, 7, because these ones seem to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to check our VRMs again because we've had some time for those to heat up. FLIR 1. Is the FLIR still on? I think the battery is toast in my FLIR.
That's rough.
I mean, it was second hand when I bought it, so... I need someone who keeps saying they're going to send me a thermal camera for review, actually send me a thermal camera for review. Because every time a review one comes in, I'm just like, yes, please send me one and I will review it. Okay, we've got 53, 54 on the top of the PCB. Let's peek again. Yeah, it's still mid-50s under. So, yeah. Yeah, that fan is doing fine for those VRMs. I don't know if I would trust this for a high-draw graphics card, but for a mid-range graphics card that you're just, doing this with, it seems to work just fine. It looks like you can get away with running no heat sinks if you've got a fan blowing on it. And I guess that kind of makes sense because, we've only got to drop, 10 watts of heat off of the VRMs?
Yeah.
If we assume 90% efficiency, we've only got to drop 10 to 15 watts.
Yeah.
You can service fans, by the way. Yeah, I guess. Depends on the fan.
But also a case of...
Yeah.
There is this stack of...
it feels gross to say because throwaway culture, but the reply that I'm tempted to say is yes, I can also throw it in the bin and buy another one for £3. But yeah, it depends on the fans. Some of them, if you remove the labels, you can take off the rotor and oil it and stuff like that. A lot of fans are just single fitment, and you cannot remove the rotor without destroying the fan. And that means you can't effectively service them. You could try squirting some oil up in there, but it's a temporary result at best in my experience.
I was going to say, it's interesting just to see how, obviously, reasonably slow the temperature climb is with no fans.
Yeah, is it still heat soaking? Oh yeah. Now you've come off of now you've switched off the fans.
I've literally unplugged the fans.
Yeah, so we're going on just fluid temperature. Oh, there is some warmth in those hoses. Yeah. It is transferring heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just interesting that it was reasonably slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's one of the reasons why
very low RPM fans.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why when water cooling, you want to be running a water cooling system that has liquid temperature sensing. I assume that the coolant. I assume that the. Let me just get rid of our faces for a sec, just because our faces are in the way of that. Oh yeah, look at that hump. Yeah, you can see the hump in the graph there, where where Caradog unplugged the fans and then plugged them back in again. But what I was going to say is, yeah, on a water cooling setup, you want the fans to respond to the liquid temperature, not the CPU temperature, because that way your fans don't actually have to ramp at a rapid speed. If you get a fast thing, like you load something up and your CPU momentarily goes underload and then offload, your fans don't actually need to respond to that at all. So if you're running, like, NZXT Cam can do it, I assume the Corsair iCUE can also sense liquid temperature. You want to tie your fans to the liquid temperature, not the CPU temperature. So that way your fans don't ramp up just because you loaded up Google Chrome for a moment and blipped your CPU to 70 degrees for a second, because that doesn't make a dent in the liquid temperature. So yes. Thermark looks like a giant anus. Thanks, Krypton.
We hit a hotspot temperature of 50°C there.
Nice.
Which is quite reasonable.
So, I mean, again, this is with fans going like the clappers, but even still...
Well, that would have been probably when the fans were
of course, yeah. I mean, I suppose it would have gone up a bit, but yeah, if we'd had the fans on like 20% or something... Yeah.
We'd have basically avoided all of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
The Kraken will have a built-in fan profile for the fan headers that we've got these plugged into, but these fans are very, very aggressive. if I put like a couple of NZXT fans on these that are a lot more lower spec, that'll probably keep it cool quite happily with more or less zero noise. So yeah, that's a good result. Good. So yeah, I'm just gonna grab the tape measure and see if that will fit in the case, just to see if we actually have to rebuild the thing or not. Right. So that is going to be from the card back. That is 270 millimeters plus 26. Sorry, not 26. Plus 60. 270 plus 60.
340? No,
330.
Sorry.
Yep, so I need 330 millimeters of space. Absolutely not. Ugh. So, no. It will require me to recase the YouTube rig to fit that in there. Because I can't top mount the RAD because there's already a top mount RAD in there at the moment for the CPU. So unless I air cool the CPU. But I've got cases kicking around. So
yeah, you could use one of the
Corsairs.
What are they, 540s?
I don't know.
Whatever they are.
Yeah.
The baby version of what I've got.
I'm going to get it and I'm going to hold it up on camera and be like, what are these?
What are those? 450.
I have two of these. Oh, hold on a sec. We're not even full screen.
There we go.
I have two of these. So yeah, we'll put it in this. I guess we'll do that next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I got a couple of these.
Interesting. They've only got two front USBs.
Yeah.
Huh.
They're probably already
just
worn.
The 750's got 4.
Yeah.
2 USB 2 and 2 USB 3.
Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, we'll rehouse the YouTube rig into one of these next week, and then it can fit 2 AIOs in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it being in the 220T, but also the other thing that means is that I can now reuse. What I want to do is I want to put this into the 220T and use it as a game server that sits in here on 24/7. And then I'm going to put the Strix and the 3950X I've got on that frame case. That's the plan.
Yeah.
And then the 220T that has the game server in it can sit in the window and look pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put a fancy cooler on it or something like that.
Yes.
Just to make the cooler look pretty. But it'll have the RGB fans on it and things like that. So I'll have something that looks flash in the window.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's the plan. Cool. Yay, Minecraft survey. That's the plan. Yeah, as soon as I get fiber in here. So yeah, we'll probably fire up a Minecraft server. I don't know how much I will use it, but if people want to use it, they can use it. So yeah. Right. Okay.
I would suggest that it's on a whitelist only basis.
Yes. Yeah, it would be whitelisted. So you'd probably need to join the. We'd whitelist it. We need to figure out some rules. I can't be bothered to think of that at the moment with a cider brain, but yeah, we'd have to figure something out.
It'll be whitelist only and things like that.
Like I don't. Yeah, you probably need to join the Discord so just we know who you are or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Right. I think we're done, aren't we?
Yeah, basically, we have proven that it all works.
Yeah, we've had a waffle about stuff. We have. I finally got around to doing this, so I can swap those out. We'll rehouse that next week, so we've got something to do next week. And yeah, it'll be great. Excellent. What speed fiber will it be? I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and get 900, 300. So 900 down, 300 up. I keep whinging about how much it costs, but like I'm going to be paying twice the amount that I'm currently paying. It doesn't matter whether it's another 10 or 20 pounds above that or not at this point, I don't think. So I may as well say, fuck it and get 900, 300. Because like I can drop to 500, 100, but that's going to save me like £10 a month. So I'm just like, I'm already paying, like when I go to 500, 100, I'm already going to be paying. Like at the moment, I think I pay £35 a month at the moment, and 500, 100 was like £60 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so at that, I'm already paying nearly double. So I may as well pay £70 a month and then have 900, 300 and get double again. So I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and pay up. I'm kind of not happy about doubling my internet bill, but at that point, I will have a ludicrous speed internet connection on hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good pricing structure you have there. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of it. You know, I had a look around at other options. I did get some tips from some other people. I did have a tip off from a viewer who said, I work for this ISP. We do pretty cheap stuff. They were slightly cheaper than BT, but they didn't. After allowing for service fees, contract lengths, other complexities, I ended up going BT's just easier. Like it would have, like they could have been slightly cheaper than BT. However, my home connection is with BT, so I can keep everything in one place. Blah 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 blah.
If it was a matter of maybe £3 a month. I think we worked out it was maybe £3 a month difference.
Yeah. So for
and also a case of you'd have had to have replaced the router anyway straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Just because the router was not up to standard.
No, they would have supplied a router and hardware. It just wouldn't have been particularly good and or useful to me.
Which would have needed to have immediately been replaced.
Yeah.
Which means it's e-waste.
Yeah.
Effectively, from your perspective.
Quentin says he pays £32 a month for 900 each way. Who are you with, Quentin? Let me into your world.
Yeah.
I'd love to know who's giving you 900 meg up and down for 32 quid a month.
It's probably someone who's built their own network.
Maybe, yeah. Like one of the small places. Yeah. BT is slower than Virgin. Yes and no. Vodafone, apparently.
Vodafone don't offer 900 up because they only use BT's infrastructure.
Yeah.
And they only offer 110 up.
Yeah.
Unless you're on a business line, and then that business line will be like £900 a month.
Citation needed. Not saying I don't believe you, but there's got to be some. I think there's some missing information there.
Vodafone have not built their own lines.
Yeah.
Unless you're using millimeter wave 5G.
Yeah.
Then yes, that would work.
Yeah.
But for fixed infrastructure, at least on the packages that are presently available through their website, they don't offer anything close to that.
Yeah. Vodafone offer 900 each way up here. It's fibre. Fair enough. Yeah.
Interesting. That package is literally just not shown.
Yeah. It's certainly
any
not
of the addresses I've banged in.
Yeah, it's certainly not available down here at any rate. Yeah, we don't have Virgin down here, so that's not an option.
Also,
BT and Virgin, BT being slower than Virgin, that's kind of yes and no. Virgin usually have higher maximum speeds than BT, but in my experience, based on people I've spoken to,
Virgin have been required to reduce all of their advertised speeds significantly.
Yeah, I was going to say
they were functionally lying about the speeds that were available.
Although their network seems to be capable of their advertised speeds, the actual speeds you get in real life seem to never be anywhere near what you are being advertised.
Also, at least here, at least on the broadband packages that are available for the addresses I've looked at, for the ones that I manage, the Virgin Media upload speed was 20 megabit on a gigabit connection.
Gross. Which is, I mean, if you're a consumer, that's fine. But for me, I want that upstream.
Yeah. Because
I want to run servers and I want to upload videos at high speed.
Yeah, they were offering 20 megabit for us around here, and I was just like, that is not acceptable.
Yeah. It
was also gigabit, and by gigabit they meant 866 megabit theoretical maximum. I'm just like,
yeah.
I'm just like, again, the speed you are advertised at is different on region and so on. It's just a case
Yeah.
of I feel slightly uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, like certainly it's closer to gigabit is than 100 meg, but
Yeah,
it's not gigabit though.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're certainly weirdly disingenuous
yeah.
around me.
Hmm. Do you need to be in contract for 2 years or more? I'm not sure what BT's contract length is, but
It's 18 months presently.
yeah, that sounds about right. 18 months I'm perfectly happy with. So yeah.
It'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see
I
just
think
what the shape of the market is in 18 months.
yeah, at
Just
the end of
obviously
the day,
the entire infrastructure will be 18 months older and a lot of the cost will have been paid.
yeah. At the end of the day, your mileage may vary. It's entirely possible that there are some areas where you can get 900 up and down for £35 a month.
Yeah.
But
I know Hyperoptic
yeah,
were advertising something like 40 quid a month for a 900
Yeah.
package.
that's not what we can get in Shaftesbury, North Dorset, though, which
Yeah.
is semi-rural, is how I define us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like you don't need to go far before you're rural, but we do have an exchange across the street from me.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, though, that exchange is still in the middle of nowhere. So
yeah. It's the difficulty on the trunking a little bit. But also
Yeah.
a case of just that the client density is not high enough for
yeah,
anyone else to want to build out their network. And as
Mm.
we were talking about 3 weeks ago or something, it's just a case of obviously BT's actual exchange equipment is the limiting factor on upload speed.
yeah,
Because
I
their
mean-
exchange equipment doesn't support
yeah.
for
Quite,
higher
quite,
throughput on the uplink side.
yeah. Quite frankly, because we're semi-rural, we're bloody lucky that we've got fibre around here at all.
Yeah,
I think it's because Shaftesbury was just chosen as one of the pilot areas for rural high-speed broadband, and I think that's down to a convenience factor because we have an exchange right here.
yeah. And also a case of obviously just the fact that BT wants to get rid of all copper lines. Just
Yeah.
because the cost of maintenance on copper lines is so high by comparison.
Yeah,
So obviously there is a cost benefit to them getting rid of them in reasonably high density areas, and obviously this road is a high density area for them. They run one set of cables and they're servicing, 100 properties or something.
that's true actually.
They fibre the high street. They're servicing 100 and something properties.
Well, the fun you say that. I was going to say it would not surprise me if the high street didn't have full fibre because we're on Salisbury Street, it's all residential.
Yeah.
A bit further down from
Yeah.
here, whereas the high street is properties and flats only, and probably is relatively low density compared to the other streets.
Compared to this one, certainly, yeah. But just a case of obviously they can do a single run up that road.
Do the entire the
They
high
can
street and
just do a
Salisbury Street is a single run. Yeah,
all the way across these two bits
yeah,
and cover several hundred addresses effectively.
fair enough. Yeah,
And obviously, if they pick up only 25% conversion on that, that's still 20 people or 25 people, and they will slowly get more conversions when someone's on Vodafone and they want full fibre, when someone's on O2 and they want full fibre, and so on. They'll still get the conversion on the network side.
yeah. A Scrote's still stealing the copper lines. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if it's still a problem. Although
I've certainly not heard of it.
Yeah, I think metal theft went down a lot because all the scrap yards started requiring a lot of personal data from people in order to scrap metal. In order to combat this, you had to provide personal details of who you are, where the metal has come from, so it's traced. So it's traceable, basically.
Yeah, so certainly at least the scrapyard can have far less liability for it.
Yeah. Because basically they'll come down on the scrapyards going, you need to start making your sources, thus the people who are bringing you the metal, you need to start tracing that or we're going to hold you liable.
Yeah.
And that, I think, killed a lot of metal theft because it became harder to fence the metals, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not that I would know much about this kind of thing. So, do you need high-speed download only for Windows Update? I mean, I don't need the high-speed download that much. I'm more interested in the upload speed. But also, having this kind of thing to hand is of interest to me because it means that things are possible. Like, if I've got 900 down, 300 up, then suddenly I'm like, yeah, I can run a game server and a file server in here and actually get good speeds off of it. And likewise, it also means that if we want to run a LAN party here, because there's gigabit broadband here, we could run 20, we could run 20 clients in here and not have the internet immediately fall over.
Yeah. Also a case of obviously if there's a patch for a game or something, that one person has grabbed and no one else has because they came later to it.
Yeah.
And now no one can play. Everyone can just download that update.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
So it's so it's just like this is why I'm kind of pained to fork out for full fiber. Is I don't need it, but it makes a lot of it makes more things possible, and it's kind of nice to have. It also means that like if I do want to download a game, like for example, sometimes on Thursdays when I've got a game stream coming up, I'll be like, oh, I want to play X, but I haven't downloaded it, and it's like 50 gigabytes or something. I can just download that in the shop in 2 minutes and be ready.
Yeah.
So it's I don't need it, but it's nice to have.
Yeah. Also a case of obviously if you think about it here during the day, you can just grab it.
Yeah. And also, it will. And for Windows updates, when I am running it, it will make that slightly faster. Windows updates is not a huge slowdown. Most of the time when computers are running updates in here, the installation time is bigger than the download time because most of the computers I'm working on are potatoes because they belong to the general public.
It's also a case that if you're sitting waiting for the machine, you're doing it wrong.
You leave them to run.
Yeah.
However, obviously, having 900 though, it does mean that everything is going as fast as it perceivably can, which is also helping workflow. So, yeah. So yes. Speaking of LAN parties, how's the power supply? Got several hundred amps. I don't know how much allowance there is, but you can run it. Like I've had friends who've run.
You'll have 100 amp. You'll have 100 amp supply.
Yeah.
Actually, you'll probably have more than that.
Yeah, probably more.
What are you?
100 amps.
I presume John said you've only got single phase.
Yeah.
He didn't suddenly go, oh, you've got three phase. How bizarre.
Yeah, he didn't mention that, and I've no reason to believe that there's three phase in here.
The only reason I think you might have done is obviously because this was a hairdresser's. They might have had it fitted because if you've got 2 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt sort of thing.
There's no equipment.
3 kilowatt water heater, 3 kilowatt water heater sort of thing. Suddenly you add up and that's suddenly quite a lot.
Yeah, there's no equipment that looks 3-phase-ish, but now you mention it, I'm just like, oh yeah, but there was a hairdresser here. They must have been pulling mega power.
Yeah. So it's just a case of obviously if that was kind of the setup, then you could see how that could then go, it would be single phase equipment, but balanced over a three phase connection.
Yeah. Either way, I've got a friend who ran a 10-man LAN party out of his house, so I don't think it's a problem, basically. So yeah. Cool. Did the freezer compressor survive the earthquake? We haven't actually started it up yet. However, we've no reason to believe that it has an issue.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to fire it up today, actually, just so we could be like, cool, it works. But also, we're out of time. It's the end of the stream, and we're kind of into waffle stage. And also, I really need to pee.
Fair enough.
Just saying.
Okay. And on that bombshell, it's good night.
Yeah. I have enjoyed this conversation in English.
Indeed.
And I will now enjoy a visit to the bathroom. So yeah. Based on what we know about the freezer, I'm sure it's fine. However, I think... Do you want to fire it up before you go home today?
I can do.
Yeah, it's up to you. Or we do it next week at some point.
Yeah, I'm not massively bothered because either way it doesn't overly make a difference to what the outcome is.
Yeah. I see.
So yes.
Yeah.
However, we are leaving now.
We'll get back to you on that. But yes, I am indeed taking the piss. There you go. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks for being here. Thanks.
Congratulations. Good afternoon. Good evening.
See you next week, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye. You have been live for 37 minutes.
I was going to say, what's